Very good. Yeah, so we're live now.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Devin's doing his thing. This is definitely a live stream talking about gear, not just World War One, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, modern. It's kind of all of the above. And because Devin and I were just talking, and I was like, well, let's just do a freaking live stream because he's teaching me a bunch about gear and that I didn't know, and it's interesting as shit. And
I did teach a bunch of Canadians about Canadian gear this weekend at a history event. So
yeah, so we were just like getting into the weeds, and I'm like, let's just freaking live stream this. So we were talking about, because I was asking him about, like I said, because in my opinion, the US 1910, 17, 28, and 45 gear is some of the shittiest gear that was ever issued to militaries. Like, it's terrible. As far as like the functional soldier is supposed to be able to use it. So he was just educating me about like Canadian gear, and
which is, except for this one, generally pretty good.
Right. So this is the what pattern?
This is the Oliver 1899 pattern equipment. It's constructed of leather. It was made to work with the Snyder Enfield conversion rifle. So it is designed by a man named Oliver. In the 1897, he started designing this equipment to replace all of the old British kind of buff white leather type stuff that they still would have had in arsenal. So this would be actually the equipment that Canada would use during the first year of World War One as well, before ultimately being replaced by the next set I'll show you after this. But it's a big, essentially your standard kind of S-strap belt, the S-clasp in the front, just your web belt. And then you have your equipment suspenders, which are obviously split, and then they rolled and stitched these to go underneath your shoulders, actually fairly tightly, like up near your armpit, which helps distribute the weight really well.
Sucks.
Actually, it kind of restricts your movement a lot, but when you're just marching, and you have your full stuff fully loaded, it helps distribute the weight so well. It takes a lot off your shoulders. Actually.
So with this, when they first introduced this pattern,
yes,
what would the Canadians have been wearing as far as the uniform?
The old buff white, like British leather that you would have seen.
No, the uniform itself.
The uniform itself.
So
there's two kind of distinct things, because Canada had basically the Canadian militia, which was like their equivalent of the National Guard, which wore kind of like what the Irish did, the like dark green, like the rifle green.
Okay.
That's the Canadian militia. And then at this point, they would have been transitioning to khaki. It wouldn't have fully happened, but it would have been the black pants and the red tunic.
Really?
Yes. So, Canada did everything way slower than the British. They're kind of a hodunk dominion, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But there would have been a significant number of the army, especially the reserves and stuff, wearing the red tunic and the black pants still in the 1890s. So all the ones that got deployed to South Africa for the Second Boer War would have been wearing khaki and this equipment. So state of the art.
You said they started the First World War, and some of the Canadian troops in 15 were still wearing this?
Yes.
Whew.
Yes. The only thing that would have changed from what this equipment has is when I flip it around here. Start here. This equipment pouch would have changed. It would have been something more reminiscent of a thing I'll show you later, the 1916 equipment, because this was designed for the 577 Snyder Enfield cartridge.
Mm-hmm.
It's just an open pouch. There's nothing in it. It's just an open kind of accordion bag. It bows out to get wider.
It's like a bigger version of the French pouches.
Yeah, basically. It's just a keyhole stud open pouch is all it is.
Very, very typical of the late 19th century.
Yes. And so your bayonet thing would have changed because your rifle would have changed in World War One. Your bayonet entrenching tool thing here on a combination worn on the left hip. So this little kind of cutout spot here in this strap would come around to hold over the little thing on your bayonet frog, like your sheath.
Yeah. The loop.
And so that would secure it. And then this pouch behind it was actually supposed to be for an entrenching tool handle that Canada never adopted. But they never changed. But they never changed the pattern of this thing.
So of course.
See some of these in World War I, but most of the pouches would have changed to the Ross bayonet frog, which was a little different. It's basically the same thing, but minus the entrenching tool slot. On this side, you would have had hangers. There's one here, and there's one kind of somewhere behind this pouch or something like that.
So what's the hanger for?
So it was for attaching your water bottle. This is the original pattern, the 1899 pattern glass water bottle. It holds 1 pint of water. You would have gotten one of these.
A pint?
1 pint is all it is. Yep.
That's 16 fucking ounces.
You would have only got 1 pint of water on your equipment as a Canadian with this gear. Most of these, this is an original water bottle, by the way. The pouch is an original. But most of them, the Canadians, when they got to South Africa, which is obviously hot, they broke their glass bottles. They're round on the bottom, so you can't set them down either, which kind of sucks. So they would have got tin ones, kind of the kidney-shaped ones, the big tin ones that you would see through World War I and World War II. Same thing, but instead of being enameled steel, they were raw tin. They would have got those. So finding an original Canadian 1899 water bottle is really hard now because most of them got broke during that. So, but this is later. These hangers were given, so you could attach the World War I pattern water bottle.
Okay.
So it would have a leather carrier that would have hooks that would loop into these little D-rings. On the back, you could see there's not really a big equipment bag. There's this kind of small haversack on your waist.
It's a knapsack, yeah.
That's what it for is. Your toiletries and some stuff like that. You had leather pouches here on the side, which were actually meant to hold wrapped 10-round bulk paper wrapped things of 10 Snyder Enfield cartridges.
Yeah.
After they stopped issuing the Snyder Enfield, because obviously they started issuing the Lee Enfield towards the end of the Boer War, the long Lees, this was kind of obsolete. The ammo wouldn't really fit in there nice anymore, but it's just a leather pouch on the side. This is just a big open bag.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's just
it's pretty standard, like for that time period.
Yeah.
Like it's a knapsack. Yeah.
Yep. Your mess kit would be hooked through this strap on the back. It would be your standard D-shaped mess tin. It would have a different kind of attachment than the World War I ones, and it would sit right here on the top of your knapsack. This big strap up here was for your greatcoat, which you would wrap in your shelter half, and that would sit above.
It was your blanket as well, right?
Yep, way bulbous out on your back. But yeah, these bags are also really hard to find too because they used them into World War II actually, as like bandage pouches. They just took it off the left here and would put a strap on it and just use it as like a bandage pouch, a utility bag, whatever. Because it's just an open pouch. That's all it is. So that's pretty much the basic kit you would get in the 1899 pattern equipment. Because obviously it didn't change until World War I. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really like rudimentary and like it's very. Here's the thing: is like it's very typical and doesn't surprise me for the late 19th century.
Yes,
it's very common with the rest of the countries and nations gear that existed at that point. But
the only thing that makes it stand out, really, how the equipment is laid out and how it all attaches is different. But the only thing that really makes this equipment stand out is how good it distributed weight by having these split straps and this really wide yoke that go over the back. Because everybody just had cross straps. So this actually helps distribute the weight around your frame so much better. And it was really pleasant to wear because of that.
And you also see that later on in the First and Second World Wars, and actually through the Cold War, like you see that same concept of like having the split, for weight distribution, to hook onto the.
Because if you see here under the arm, you have a strap coming from the back to the front. You have one going over the shoulder to the back, and then you have one coming from the shoulder wrapping around underneath.
But you're still wearing a wool service coat, a wool tunic.
So but it was just really, really good to have have that weight distribution. This is back when soldiers didn't carry a lot of stuff compared to like today, but still you don't want to have to carry. Even carrying lightweight really poorly wears on you surprisingly fast.
Oh, dude, ounces matter when you're going to be carrying everything that is your life, basically.
Yep.
Every ounce matters.
Yep. So, and the only thing innovative about this equipment really was just the yoke. Everything else was pretty standard for the day.
Yeah, it looks very similar to other countries' gear of that time.
So,
except for
if you have any questions on anything or you want any clarification on something, feel free to put it in the comments. Mike will ask me while I'm changing the mannequin between web equipment sets, because there's a lot of web equipment sets sitting down here right now. So
we'll go ahead and do that right now. Just start changing it out.
Yep.
Let's see. It's Canadian. Oh, yeah. Contrary to popular belief, Canada actually designed and implemented a lot of their own equipment. They were a. What did you say they were a? We talked about this like right before we got on this.
They were a very independent dominion of the
Dominion. British that's the word. Yeah, I was just thinking.
They were the only part of the British Empire to ever get full equal citizenship. Canadian citizens had full equal citizenship to British citizens. The only dominion that ever happened to. So it's kind of weird because everyone thinks they're like, oh, they're just a bunch of the British whatevers, and it's like, well, not really since the 1700s, actually. So it works out kind of good.
You act more British than us, and that's why we don't like you. Oh, yeah. Why have your accent? Oh, War of 1812 enters the chat.
They've always been way more in common with America than they ever were with Britain.
Right, because geographically it's like right here. So, okay.
So the next one is something that pretty much every
Okay. So really quick, Devin.
Yes.
Brennan Gill said at least they weren't dumb enough to wear the red tunics in Africa.
That's true. They didn't.
So they wore the khakis, like you said, and it's like There you go.
The British didn't. They only wore red tunics in the First Boer War, and that was in the 1880s. In the Second Boer War, they were all wearing khaki.
Khaki, yeah. And I actually knew that, which is weird that I know that. I don't know how the fuck I learned that, but
everyone thinks they're wearing red tunics into whatever, but they didn't.
Yeah. How on earth were they expected to keep on the move with the water capacity of a single bottle of an average 6-pack?
Yeah, and it's a really tiny capacity bottle, a pint. Yeah.
Well, dude, so from what I've researched, until about the Vietnam War, the U.S. Vietnam War, people were issued one, possibly two canteens that were very minimal capacity to what I think you need.
Yeah, they were. You would only the standard for the longest time was 1 quart of water.
Oh, and
if you don't know what the conversion of a quart is, that are like metric, a quart is like 980 something milliliters.
So it's almost a liter, but it's
almost it's negligibly a liter. Yeah,
right.
You basically got a liter of water. So
that's nothing though, because I can pound. Dude, I can't even imagine being issued that. And
on a day like today, standing outside doing nothing, I could crush a liter of water.
Wearing a pair of shorts and t-shirt.
Exactly.
And it's like, okay, you're wearing full kit with wool. Which does breathe, but it's still fucking heavy and hot.
A lot of the British khaki stuff was actually cotton, which was
even still with heavy, but it's heavy cotton. It's like denim, like we were talking about earlier.
It is like denim. It's that thick. The khaki
it's very thick. Yes. And it's like, dude, 1 liter of water.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, if you're more thirsty, go get your own water. Well, okay.
Yeah, a lot of it was they would drink out of streams, but
Then I was just gonna say that, then you get dysentery and cholera.
Mm-hmm. Well, the first war that people didn't die more from disease than from actual fighting was Vietnam. And that's not that long ago. There's people that were alive from that. So it's before that, both world wars, most casualties came from disease. And a lot of that was poor water, actually.
So, right. Dude, if you get dysentery or cholera,
Yeah.
I don't know if people have had it in the chat. If you have, let us know. But like, I've had dysentery.
Sonic diarrhea. That's
Dude.
how everyone died in the West. One of the many 50 kinds of sonic diarrhea.
It is not sonic, it's supersonic diarrhea.
Yeah.
It is.
It's bad.
I know it's kind of gruesome and like nasty, but like I told you this story, but like, and I told it on other streams, but when I had dysentery in basic, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was sitting on one of those like block shitters where it was just like a cesspool below that. Whenever it was a range shitter, and I'm sitting there in full gear, just going like this, because I was throwing up constantly. Right,
Yeah,
I could not keep
just severely dehydrated.
Even a sip of water, and I'm sitting down, and all of a sudden, this guy's taking a piss. Whenever he goes, "Why are you sitting down to take a piss?" And I went, "It's not piss," and he just looks at me and goes, "Oh fuck."
Yeah. That's how it works.
Yeah, and you could easily die from that. It's oof.
Yeah.
And yeah, anyway, so dysentery is awful. And cholera is awful.
Mm-hmm. So, well, the next set we have here is pretty famous. It is the British pattern of 08 web equipment, 1908.
Arguably, I would say, dude, I'd say that's probably the best equipment setup of the First World War.
I would tend to agree. It was very modular, very, very adjustable. It was very weather resistant. It was very durable. It was surprisingly lightweight, very flexible, especially compared to leather. And it was very good at carrying a load, because it had integrated braces. Most people's equipment didn't have integrated braces. It was a belt during World War I with pouches on it. So, but this was the standard, and it, as you can see, it's all cotton with brass fittings. This one's Blancoed, obviously, in the World War I pattern Blanco, which is just a duller brown. It would have came from the factory tan, but it consisted of 2 left and right cartridge carriers. You can hold 150 rounds of ammunition, 3 chargers each in each of these pouches, which for World War I is a fuckload of ammo.
That's a fuckload, yeah.
For World War I, it's a lot of ammo, and for like that reference, if you look at the Germans, their standard equipment loadout was only like 90 rounds.
Let's see, 3 times. Let me do the math really quick.
3 times 6, 5, so 15 rounds per compartment, and it was three compartments per pouch, and so 6 pouches. So you would have 90 rounds if you're German. The Austrians only carried 40.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so what we were talking about before, like a long time ago, about bandoliers. So the Brits also had bandoliers.
Yep, and they used them a lot on top of their 150 rounds of ammo. So
that's still like that. That's a fuckload just to carry on your gear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So with that comes the weight.
But they distribute it very well. Once again, big, wide, 2-inch wide cross straps, big 3-inch wide belt, tons of stuff like that. And, all your cartridge stuff, it's all integrally woven. These aren't like pouches sewn onto these things. They're all woven like this. Even the spacers for dividing the chargers up in between the pouches are integrally woven as part of the pouch.
What do you mean by that?
So, the pouch doesn't have they have dividers in it, and normally you would be just we'll make the dividers.
No, I'm saying integrally woven. Are you able to go up to the?
I can probably finagle it down enough to where you can see inside. So you see, this is a divider in there. It's divides the chargers because you fit 3 chargers in here. Okay, and you get 2 in the front and 1 in the back. It's integrally woven into the pouch. It's not an extra part sewn into it. It's integrally part of the pouch, woven into the pouch during construction. And the whole cartridge carriers are made like that. They're all woven. So this is also set up for early war. It would change throughout the war based on where the equipment would go and what you would carry. But this is set up for early war. And it's basically the pattern that Canadians adopted in manual. They didn't really get to the later British patterns, but this replaced the 1899 Oliver equipment after the Oliver equipment had massive shortcomings.
Yeah.
And so the British kind of took over supplying the Canadian Army in late 1915, and this is what they would be given. So going to the left side of the mannequin. So you have your now standard water bottle. This holds 1.5 liters of water. It's a lot. So it's wool covered. This is actually a World War II pattern one, but it's no different than what the British would have used. Theirs are blue.
It's just not blue. I was just going to say it was
so
blue.
They're just blue instead of green. And the wool was just a different color. Your entrenching tool handle and your bayonet would go on the frog underneath your canteen on your left side. To the back, in the early pattern war, you were expected to have your large haversack on your back. A lot of people didn't like that. It kind of got in the way. It was very bulky. This would be all your extra clothes and stuff like that, your toiletries and things. Your small haversack would have had your mess kit, your food, and this, stuff, extra ammo, a bandage, stuff like that you would need to actually fight. This was a lot of times later in the war left behind the lines, and your small haversack would move from your right hip up to your back.
Yeah.
That's not uncommon. Beneath that, you would have your entrenching tool head, which is a pickaxe, essentially. That's what the British carried. It's a horizontal spade with about a 4-inch wide blade, and then just a spike on the back, and you would drop your entrenching tool handle through the head, and that was your entrenching tool. They would use that. It's called the 08 pattern entrenching tool. They would use that all the way basically into the Korean War. And then on the right side of the gear, once again, your cartridge carrier, and then you have your haversack right here, your small haversack.
Yep. Well, I would call that a knapsack, and I don't know. It's so, never mind.
The British stuff is different than the American stuff.
Yep.
But it is this would be your large pack, or your main pack as it would be called, and then this would be your haversack. So
we got a couple questions on chat, and so Brendan asks, is that the same web gear that would have the large square pouches in the front? No, this is not P-37 gear. I think that's what you're saying.
Not necessarily true. They did actually make later in the 20s pattern 37 pouches before it was called pattern 37 gear.
Yeah.
That would work with this equipment.
Okay.
So it would be used in reserves through World War II. Very big in New Zealand. New Zealand didn't get a lot of pattern 37 gear. They fought most of World War II with 1908 gear. So. Okay.
The next one is, we're not talking about East German stuff right now, man. Sorry, we got to just keep it on topic. But Fleisch und Junko's Emporium of Wonders. Were the leather bandoliers more of a cavalry item?
So the 1903 pattern cavalry equipment, yes, would have been more of a cavalry thing. But by World War I, the time this gear is actually being used, it's going to be all canvas. You would not see many leather bandoliers by that time.
By 15?
Yeah. By like even 1914, a lot of it would have been replaced with the canvas bandoliers because they were packed in ammo boxes that way.
Yes.
So even if you're a cavalry guy and you have a nice leather 1903 pattern bandolier, are you going to open an ammo box, take out a cloth bandolier, take all of the chargers out of that bandolier, put them into your leather bandolier, or would you rather just take this off and just throw that over your shoulder?
Yep. Cool. So, good question.
It's also a lot less bulky. The fabric ones are, the cloth ones. So you could actually carry 2 bandoliers basically for the same amount of bulk you would the leather 1903 bandolier.
All right, Brennan Gill says, is that more like a backpack compared to the flap system of the American haversack? We'll get there in a second. Andrew Schultz, was there a limit to the extra ammo you could carry outside of your main supply, or was that more after the battle when scavenging from less fortunate comrades? That goes back to the bandolier thing.
Yes. You didn't really keep a lot of ammo outside of the ammo pouches or the bandoliers. I'm sure guys did it. They would keep chargers in their pockets, or, throw a couple extra in their haversack. Or if you had special ammo, like if you were a grenade launcher or something towards the end of World War I, that was a good idea to keep that ammo separate, stuff like that. And a lot of times they would have an extra little pouch, like up here, that would have just the grenade launcher ammo in it. things like that. But for the most part, if you had your 150 rounds in your pouches, and then bandoliers if you needed more.
So I think the British actually, really quick, just like a stupid statement, is like I think the British were able to carry the most. I think the Americans would be second then because they had 100 rounds.
Yes.
In their belt.
Mm-hmm.
The 1910/17, and then later on the 1923. But like the Germans had 90, the Austrians or the Austro-Hungarians had, you said 40, yeah, and 40, that's what it was. Yeah. How about the Russians?
The Russians carried around 60 rounds of ammo.
60 rounds, okay.
They had different kinds of pouches as stuff would go on, but the standard was kind of 60 rounds of ammo.
So okay, did the Austro-Hungarians have like cloth bandoliers like the Allies?
Yes, they did. The Austro-Hungarians had bandoliers, but their trench setup is different. And if you ever get to see original pictures of their trench setup, they would punch holes in the sides of the trench, okay, and up by the parapets around machine guns and stuff. So it was basically like an interval of every like 8 to 10 feet. There's a box of ammo on clips for riflemen. So you were supposed to be able, from pretty much wherever you are, be able to reach down into a brand new box of ammo. And it was something really important for reliability because of the hole at the bottom of the M95 rifle. But It also meant your ammo isn't getting dirt in it. It's not getting water in it. It's not corroding. It's not all this other stuff. You are always getting basically the freshest ammo to go into your rifle.
But logistically, in fast-moving combat, that's not a good idea.
It worked out surprisingly well because the Austrians didn't really do a ton of offensive stuff.
Sure, but like I'm saying, like so that's why like certain militaries utilize. I know the Germans did too, but like certain militaries utilize bandoliers with their normal ammo pouches. We're supplementing their basic loadout. So that's why a lot of militaries use bandoliers, and then some didn't, because if you're in a static position, it's like, well, fuck it. Like we've got a huge crate of ammo here.
Right here.
That makes sense. But if they have to be mobile, they're sort of fucked because they only have 40 rounds. They would use
their bandoliers, but the Austrian doctrine was to never draw from your pouch unless you had no other source of ammo.
Unless you're it's a bad.
So like that's your emergency ammo. And it was good on their soldiers because they didn't have to carry all that weight around. And they would have people that would replace the boxes of ammo and distribute clips if they needed to, and belts to maintain a nice, effective rate of fire.
And in one sense, like we were just saying, that does make sense for that kind of warfare. But, however, pause for dramatic effect, if you're doing a more mobile style warfare, good luck.
They would give people bandoliers for that, and that would bring up their ammo capacity too. Their bandoliers held 10 clips, so now you're up to 10 times 5. That's 90 rounds. That's basically what the Germans had.
Right, but it's still not a lot because think about this. So the Americans have 100 rounds in their belt, and it was 50 rounds. Was it? Yes, 50 rounds per bandolier. The British had 150 rounds in their belt, and then each bandolier was how many rounds? Was it 50 as well?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 50. Okay, that's a force multiplier in itself. Yeah. Because again, if your comrades get dropped, it's really easy to pull a bandolier off of somebody. Boom, pop, because they're very lightweight.
They're flimsy.
Yeah. And so that's just interesting that like the Germans and the Austrians, even though they use bandoliers, that wasn't how they thought supply or ammo supply will be the most efficient.
Well, it makes a lot of sense because you want your riflemen to focus on shooting. If they have to stop to fuck with belts and clips and ammo and stuff like that, instead of just reaching into a box, especially with like the Austrian packet loading, the end blocks, reaching into a box and just throwing it into your gun, you never have to take your eyes off the target. You don't even have to take the rifle off your shoulder. Throw the bolt back, grab a clip, slam it in, go forward.
Especially with the Steyr M95.
And so theirs all was speed. It's all about the speed. You don't have to look down. You don't have to fumble with stuff. And you're making sure you're getting the most reliable ammo into your rifle. Yeah.
And so really quick question from Thomas That's a German name, but it's a weird one. Dubitman. How many rounds did French soldiers carry during World War One? Because of the two different loading systems, loose for the Lebel and the M blocks, or the packets for the Britannia. That's a good question. I actually don't know the answer to that.
So
that's a good question.
It varied. The Lebel ammo pouches, the standard was 100 rounds, and the belt. But for the
how is that 100 rounds in 3 pouches? How is that 100?
The pouch in the back is way bigger, and it expands.
Why in our yard taking pictures of our house?
I'll be back in a bit.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna keep going then. So, but a lot of times you would see the French would have the packet loading would get lower. You would have a lower ammo count just because the clips and how the ammo is shaped, and the big tapers, they would just take up more room in pouches, so you just can't hold as many. But it's still comparable. So I don't know exactly what the French stuff is off the top of my head because I'm not an expert. I'm more of a Commonwealth, Austrian, Russian guy. But yeah, I believe there was an earlier about the backpack. Backpack on this thing is actually a backpack. It is a large open pouch. It has 2 flaps up here that kind of close in. They don't go all the way across, but they come in like a third of the width of the bag. Then you have these 2 straps here to obviously hold stuff. It's just a big, large open pouch in the main pack. There's no dividers or anything in there. And then in the haversack, there is a divider. It's kind of like a T. So there's a big divider that runs lengthways, and then there's a short one that goes from that divider to the front of the pouch. So this is kind of a 3-compartment pouch. And the reason that was designed like that is so one of those little compartments you could slide your mess kit into. And then one of the other compartments is for like your toiletry kit and roll and stuff. And then you had a large kind of section in the back for extra socks or whatever else you needed, gloves, and yada yada, this and that. So yeah, about 30% of the reason the Geneva Convention exists is because of Canada. Because as the Canadian motto goes, it ain't a war crime the first time. So, but yeah, so does anyone else have any questions here on the British Pattern 08 web equipment? Because it's a pretty good set of web equipment. I'm in jorts right now. That's the thing. Made them myself. I only own a couple pairs of shorts, so, and half of them are jorts because they used to be jeans. All right. So no other questions on the British / Canadian / Australian / 1908 pattern web equipment. I'm surprised nobody asked any questions about Blanco, which is a kind of uniquely British thing and what it is. But it's also kind of a long story. So if people don't want to hear it, I won't tell it. But that I wish that I had when I was serving. Well, the stuff that I got was kind of meh. It was basically molly gear. But if I had to pick a piece of equipment that I really, really, really liked, I really like Alice gear, like a lot. But we didn't have Alice gear in Canada. And I know that's not a Canadian thing, but I'm like, I really like the American Alice equipment a lot. Okay, so Blanco. Initially, how Blanco is it is a puck of clay. It's about that big around. It used to come in like wax paper. and it's a block of dyed clay dust. Okay, and you would use it to camouflage your equipment. All of the equipment that British people were issued for the longest time were tan. All the web equipment came off the factory as a generic, like undyed, natural tan color. That sticks out in a lot of environments that aren't desert. So they invented this stuff initially. It was white, and that's why it got the name Blanco, because the British citizens and everybody really liked that old white leather equipment with the polished brass trim that looked really, really nice. So for parades, for the longest time after they started issuing this equipment, you would have to take your shaving brush and water and lather up this white clay stuff and paint your web equipment with your shaving brush with this kind of clay dust. And you would paint it on to make your equipment white, which is very good looking, the British thought. And then eventually the white evolved into different kinds of greens and browns for more environments. And the best part about it, since it is just clay solids, you can wash it off or change it very easily with just some kind of rubbing the equipment together in water. All of the Blanco comes off. It doesn't really come off if it just gets rained on. You kind of have to scrub, but that's what Blanco is. And that's where I got the name. Blank is white. So I was just explaining Blanco to these kids, which is kind of a uniquely British Commonwealth thing. So.
Yeah, but it worked, and it was kind of like a stopgap from what I know. Like it.
No, it existed long before.
I know, but it's like it's not really that great for. I guess at the time it was.
It was never meant for concealment initially.
No, I'm not talking about concealment. I'm talking about like overall like life of the gear itself. But here's the thing: is like I've also seen gear that was Blanco like excessively, and it almost becomes like vinyl.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean it's required. It's also a bitch, but yeah.
It started out when they started issuing canvas gear. It was Blanco. It was called Blanco because it was white, and you would use it to paint your equipment white for parades.
Yep.
And then it evolved into other colors. And World War I was the first time they had non-white Blanco, and it is this color. I have Blanco on this, and so when I take it off, you'll be able to see what it's like. Well, it's an undyed kind of natural tan cotton.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and I didn't do it on the inside because then it doesn't get on the uniforms as much. But you can see it's
different. Yep.
It's a lot tanner than what the. So you can see there's more of it on the straps there, the cross straps, where you can see the tan original color right against the haversack, which is Blanco. So now we're going to move on to like probably one of my favorite web equipment sets ever. But this one is also a World War I web equipment set. It's a little bit different, kind of a combination of the two that we just saw.
Devin, was it ever called pipe clay?
Not that I know of, but there was probably a couple different makers, so it wouldn't surprise me.
Like, yeah, because the person just asked, wasn't it once called pipe clay? I mean, it's the same color, actually, now that I think about it, yeah.
But it was essentially, taking a brick of clay dust that had been dyed.
Yeah,
and using it to change the color of your cotton web equipment.
And also preserve it from mildew.
Yeah, it worked out pretty good.
It doesn't work out that great, though. It like unless you oversaturate. Again, I guess my question or my point was my observation of like Blanco gear. The shit that was oversaturated and shit lasted a long time. But people that would just apply it like the bare minimum that they were required to, it's like, well, that's still going to just eventually rot away and all that stuff. But
it does sort of kind of protect the web equipment by just creating a barrier.
Yeah. But it was yeah, okay. I got you.
But for the most part, it actually also kind of did eat away at the web equipment because it is essentially dust. And the dust would eventually start cutting the fibers.
For sure, yeah. It's constantly, yeah. That makes sense.
Well, the next set we got here is kind of a cool rare set. This is a Canadian set, again from World War I. This is the 1916 pattern Oliver equipment. So It is a leather set again, because Canada obviously cannot grow cotton. It is too cold there for that.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
but they do have a lot of cows and sheep. So that's how you end up with this type of stuff. You can see cartridge carriers now, 2 big open pouches, no dividers, anything in them.
Can you open one of those up and get it closer to the camera quick?
So how you would open it is you have a strap here in the front, and you would undo both of these, and you would have a flap that would come forward. And a lot of people are like, that seems kind of weird, but it's actually good at keeping dirt and shit out of your pouch if you have to crawl.
It's still tedious as shit, man.
Yeah. But like so the only time, so it's all sealed. It's got a gusset and everything attached to the roof of the pouch. So it kept the water out, it kept dirt out and everything. Pretty good, actually. Better than the British pattern away web equipment did with the canvas, because of this design where it hinges kind of on the front instead of on the back. You'd hold a lot of ammo in this. It'll hold 12 chargers across of 5 rounds in each pouch, and then you can stack 3 horizontally on top of those on each side.
Kind of like the US 56 pouches, which would hold 3 20-round mags, and then you can horizontally place a 20-rounder.
So yeah,
the later ones.
A lot of ammo in here. And then if you didn't want it to close up all the way, like if you wanted to have this pouch at the loosest, you could actually get almost an entire second row of 12 chargers on here.
Damn.
Yeah, so you could have 24 times 5. Trying to do math here.
It's a little over 100. Here, I've got a calculator. 24 times 5. And everybody's trying to comment. It's 120 per pouch.
Okay, and then you have 2 pouches. So that's 240 rounds of ammo.
Yep.
Which was actually the largest capacity of World War I. Way to go, Canada. Once again, everyone forgets about you for not being an innovator, but there you go. And then you would carry 2 bandoliers of 50 rounds each on top of this. So 340 rounds as a standard loadout in World War I.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, of 303 British, nonetheless, which packs a wallop.
We do have a conversation to address in the chat. The Germans in World War II the English is not great. Was decades ahead in most areas, camo, tactics, equipment, etc. Always had an obsession with Germany in World War II, looking at our British troops in World War II and comparing them to Germans.
We'll get there. Don't worry. We'll show you how actually the British equipment was light years ahead of what the Germans were using, which didn't change much from the First World War. And we all know how they won that, right? So
I'm going to go ahead and call Nate quick. And see if he can real quick. I'll be right back.
So I'll keep telling them about this stuff for the most part. All right, so big yoke, once again. Big straps to adjust. 2-inch wide belt, leather belt, double buckle, okay? Big ammo pouches, obviously, big leather ammo pouches. Big yoke, okay? Coming over your shoulders, again, for that weight distribution and stuff. Now you don't have all that complicated shit under your arms. You have much more range of motion with this equipment. Moving to the left side, you have your standard now, just single for your bayonet. This would hold the Ross 1905 bayonet, the Ross 1907 bayonet, the British 1907 bayonet, or the P14 bayonet. Easily, it would work for all of them. Beneath that, you would keep your haversack. It was really no different from the British haversack other than the attachments in the back, rather than having the big buckles and stuff like that you would clip to the cross braces that would dangle down. These came with their own little kind of hangers, and then you would run a tiny little 3/4-inch strap through the little D-ring hangers on the belt. So that's how you would attach the haversack. Other than that, it is the same haversack, same closure, same kind of 3-compartment stuff on the inside. So I mean, stuff kind of comes in circles. It circles around. You know, they say, you know, like how history doesn't repeat itself, it just kind of rhymes. It's kind of like a spiral. But yeah, it's amazing how we're getting back to how calibers used to be 200 years ago. Because that's what people want now. But like for the longest time, it was always smaller and faster. And now people want heavier and slower. Again, it's just kind of how it works. So moving to the back. of this equipment. The bag itself, pretty much the same as the British 1908 pattern web equipment large pack. The only difference is, obviously, the Canadians had to make a few modifications for it to be modified to work with this set of equipment. Other than that, it is essentially just a large bag with two little flaps that cross, and that's about it. Nothing really fancy going on in there. The only kind of small difference is you have this one kind of pouch thing that goes right down the middle, and that was for putting your shelter half in. You could put your shelter half right here, and you would use to waterproof the bag to keep stuff from getting into your bag. You would put your poncho there. This little strap up here in the front is for attaching your mess kit, and then these little ones are to route the cross straps through it. That's about it on the haversack. You also have these big leather straps on the bottom that are part of the cross straps. They are attached to the bottom of the haversack. They are sewn on there. These would be for attaching your greatcoat. So, welcome back. Do you want the quick run through of what we missed?
Sure.
All right. So we went to the left side. See the bayonet frog here, single now, for the Ross 1905, the Ross 1907 bayonet, the British P07 bayonet, and the P14 bayonet. Mm-hmm. Haversack, same bag, essentially slightly different attachment method to the belt. Same as the British. Then we move to the back. Haversack, essentially the same bag. Big open canvas bag. Just some different attachment points for things to route to the equipment. This little thing here was little strap where my thumb is for the mess kit. These were just to route the straps. These straps connect to the yoke up top, but underneath they come around and are sewn to these little rings here that are stuck at the bottom that are sewn to the pack itself. And that was for attaching your greatcoat, your shelter half, and stuff like that. And then you have a single strap sewn to the middle here in the front where you can put your rain kit.
Okay.
Simplified, so you get more stuff on the outside of the bag, which means you get to take stuff out of the bag that was in the bag, like in the British equipment. So you're taking stuff that is in the British equipment out of the bag and attaching it to the outside so you have more room. So canteen's the same. And like I said, this is just kind of the hangers. They have these little brass kind of spring-loaded clip hooks. This is what the Canadians would have had on the 1899 web gear. It's what they would have had on the 1916 web gear. It's what they used on the 08 web gear. Just a different carrier. That's all. So.
Not bad.
And the Canadians would actually use this well into World War II, this equipment.
It's not terrible.
No, it gives you the most ammo capacity. You have the highest carrying capacity of any soldier in World War I.
Right.
And it was very modular. Soldiers really liked it. It was easy equipment to work on. Once again, between how the yoke is set up here in the back, really wide yoke, 3-inch wide piece of leather. Okay, go over your shoulders, really wide distribution. Single strap running down to the back of the belt to help support the back. Big straps going to the front. Okay, down to the belt, and then you have all these integrated straps that are riveted onto the bigger straps that support the backpack. So it's a very good weight distribution set of equipment because there was a lot of weight.
The whole concept of this gear reminds me of LC2.
Yeah.
That's what it reminds me of.
It's one of those things where it was kind of a little too ahead of its time.
Yeah.
So, because modern equipment, like you said, LC2 and stuff like that, which is the most common equipment right now in the world.
Yeah.
This is basically the genesis of it right here. 1960.
Because with LC2, you've got two, they're not giant ammo pouches, but you can hold 90 plus, so it's 180 rounds in two pouches in the front, but they're not that big.
Yeah.
But they are still heavy and shit. But you can also wear more if you need to.
Like
we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Tons of light years ahead of all other equipment in World War I, other than the material
concept.
It distributed weight better than almost any equipment. The only one that really did better weight distribution wise was the P08 web gear, and that's just because it was a lot more flexible because canvas.
Right.
But this distributed a lot of weight, and it carried twice as much as what the next field equipment weighed. So It's a lot. It was a well-liked piece of gear. Guys really liked the 1916 equipment. There was a short-lived bit of equipment kind of in between it called the 1915 gear, which was never really widely adopted. It was essentially this with less kind of stuff, not as good weight distribution, and it wasn't liked, so they just improved it into this. So
seems like it's a similar kind of thing to the 56 web gear versus the LC2.
yeah. So
Or rather LC1. Well, no, LC1 didn't exist, basically. It was
it
so
had
fucking...
slightly more complicated ammo pouches that opened a different way, and the yoke was a little bit different shaped. Other than that, it pretty much was the same thing. And so they changed it all, and a lot of it was converted to be 16 pattern. So.
Right on.
Yeah. It's good stuff. I think so anyway.
Yeah, World War I is like, I mean, there was so much gear used, and like you and I were just talking about earlier, like I think the fucking US gear was, even though it had capacity, it was among the worst.
It wasn't great, but like that's a time when everybody was figuring so much shit out.
Right. Of like, how do we make it the cheapest, the most effective, and
it's also like if anybody's exposed to gas, you have to throw it away because it's cotton.
As far as I know, that wasn't with the gear; it was with the uniforms themselves. I could be totally wrong on that. I'll have to talk to somebody.
That's why they got rid of the 56 gear for the LC2 is because nylon.
Well, yeah, but that whole thing came out after the first one. I'm pretty sure, from what I've read, this is not gospel at all, so do not take my word seriously. But I'm pretty sure it was only the wool uniforms that were discarded after even a suspected.
Maybe they had something where they could clean the cotton.
Maybe they thought they could, whatever. But like, yeah. But yeah, it's like, all right, I'm gonna read some of the questions.
Some of the questions.
And also super chats. I might notice you a little bit sooner. So always tickles me how Americans take English so seriously and us actual English write terrible. If you think I'm pedantic, you should talk to Germans. If you know 2 words in German, they'll make sure to correct you. They're the most pedantic on language that I've ever freaking met in my life.
Well, I only take credit from countries that have won world wars.
Well, they had 2.
Yeah, but they didn't win any, so I don't care what they have to say.
The regiment and all that shit. Okay. With the Royal Green Jackets. Good for you. Thank you for your royal service.
All right. So.
Really quick. I just want to see if there's anything. So the universal carrier usage of World War II all sides. Just imagine how many Axis troops would switch their gear out with the Allies' gear. They didn't. As far as I know, most pictures that I've seen, they did not switch their shit with the Allies' gear because Germans were very well drilled and disciplined on how to effectively use their gear, even though we would consider it inferior and not as good. They were highly effective with it, but not to the extent
familiar in what you've practiced with. So
right, and they were Germans are a different type of mentality. We'll just put it that way.
They were also basically told all of their shit is the best.
So this is a common thing in that was a common thing in World War II with switching your equipment out because the common belief on both sides is that the enemy had better equipment in a lot of cases. This is boomer lore. This is
that's not true.
This is just boomer lore, dude.
Or anything. So there's a couple instances where Germans used.
Oh, he got pissed at me. Royal service law. I was talking about a sword and a bayonet. Good for you, law. What a tool. I don't want to go through your service. Like I was in the army too. So was Devin. It's not what this stream is about. So okay, if you're off, you're off. Good for you.
Yep.
Fuck off. Like if you're gonna be like that. Anywho, so this is P37, correct?
This is the pattern 37 web equipment adopted, obviously, in 1937. It is.
Oh wait, so it wasn't 27?
Nope.
Huh.
Weird.
Guess I got that wrong.
They had some experiments with it and some kind of other stuff in interwars. Like you started seeing pouches like this being experimented with on the 08 pattern webbing in the interwar period. But they would actually make, like I said, big pouches like this, universal carrier pouches, which
Right.
this is a really good ammo pouch. A lot of people don't understand that, but we'll get into it. So in the front now, you've replaced your charger belts, like your charger carriers, which they did actually have charger pouches for people that weren't on the front lines that held just clips. But here we are with the universal carrier pouches. It is a giant open box. Everyone's like, that's kind of weird, but you could pack it with loose ammo. You could pack it with chargers. You could put grenades in it. You could put light mortar rounds in it. You could put Bren gun magazines in it. And that's primarily the reason these are shaped like they are, is they are meant to hold bandoliers and Bren gun magazines. Everybody in the squad was carrying Bren gun magazines. Everything was built around the machine gun, and the British machine gun was the Bren gun. So you would usually have at least one pouch with Bren gun magazines in it, and then usually the other one would be a bandolier or clips or a grenade or so normally. Unless you were on like some specialized mortar team, then you would have mortars in these and ammo, and it was very versatile. That's the cool thing about it. Snap closure, big open pouch, nothing fancy going on in there. Whatever you wanted to put in here, you could put in here. And it was pretty well protected from the elements. It worked really, really good. And people liked them. It's a good pouch. Can't really think of anything else in World War II where this pouch literally carried everything the British needed to carry. They never had to have different kinds of ammo pouches, which saved manufacturing time. It saved a bunch of other stuff like that, because you only have to make one thing and everybody can use it. The standard thing was to still have a bandolier slung over you. You were to draw from your bandolier first to load your rifle. Okay.
So would guys that were like Sten or Bren gunners and shit like that still carry a bandolier for the riflemen?
So a lot of times they would have different bags thrown over that would carry extra Bren mags. So they would have a band like it was normally like a vest thing that would go kind of under this equipment, and it would go on your chest, and it would hold two pouches here for four.
Yes, I've seen that. I was asking, so like I was just talking about like the Bren, because it sounds like everybody carried ammo for everyone. My question is like, so did Bren gunners and Sten gunners who had Bren and Sten mags in their magazine pouches still carry bandoliers for the riflemen?
Sometimes, probably.
Okay, that's
I
all.
mean, it wasn't like a standard thing, but like the riflemen would have bandoliers, and you were instructed to load from your bandolier first. If you didn't have a Lee Enfield, you probably didn't want to carry Lee Enfield ammo, but you might carry some machine gun ammo. But you would probably usually be in a position where you would be doing something different anyways, or have a different weapon platform. So like a lot of the officers would have Sten mags, obviously, and then grenades, other stuff. It wasn't usually rifle ammo. Grenadiers would fill, obviously, usually with chargers or bandoliers in their pouches, and then grenades or rifle grenades or whatever,
Yeah.
Because that's the cool thing about the pouch. It'll fit pretty much anything you want in there. Moving over to the left side, you have your same canteen the British have been using for forever. Then
to be fair, the U.S. canteen, the actual design of it, like the shape and everything, and the capacity, like the quart, hasn't changed since 1910.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gotten better. But like, yeah, they carried that. I think the Commonwealth, did they use it till like the fucking 80s when they came out with that new one?
The latest one that I saw that was ever dated of this pattern canteen manufactured and stamped on the bottom was April of 1965.
Yeah, but they used them then forever, because then they came out the plastic one, like the modern, like the cup and everything.
Yep.
So still 65. That's a long time.
This canteen would be widely replaced in British service in the 50s.
So Australian troops, New Zealand, Indian, and like Canadian troops.
India would use this the latest. Pretty much everybody. So basically, after World War II, Canada would get American canteens.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and we'll get into that. That's the next.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah.
And stuff like that. But like for the most part, India was pretty much the only one still using these. Well past the 50s. So, but it's just your big standard kind of steel enameled canteen wrapped in wool. Same thing the British had been using going all the way back to like the 1870s. But back then they were just bare tin soldered together. You have your little bayonet pouch back here. This one is a SMLE bayonet pouch that was converted and had a slit put into it in the top strap for the number 4 bayonet. Because the frog is a lot shorter, so if you put it down here, it sinks too low, and it would tend to come out of that little strap because it doesn't have the big hook on it, like the 1907
exactly.
Little round stud, so it would
fall out. How many of those did they actually convert then?
Huh?
How many of those frogs did they actually convert?
I don't know, but there's a lot of them. They're still pretty fun.
A lot? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, are we talking thousands, tens of thousands, or?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Yeah.
So a lot of them were actually even done in the field.
Okay.
Guys would just take their knives and cut them and then put their number 4 bayonet in it and then stitch around the cut once it was in to make sure it stays in place, just to keep you from pulling your whole frog out or having it flop away. Same large pack as the 1908 pattern, literally didn't change. Nothing at all. Just equipment straps now, so you could put a lot of stuff in here. You could wrap stuff under these things. A lot of people, like I said, to keep their equipment dry, because this pouch does come all the way to the edge of the flap here. You would see a lot of guys fold up their rain cape and put it under the flap on the top of their gear. So it's a rubber sheet, essentially, that would help keep your stuff dry. Tea mug. This isn't a historically accurate tea mug, but it's the one I like because I know it's not got lead paint on it or stuff that has lead in the enamel, and so I can actually like drink out of it.
Oh,
and
you pussy!
It has coffee stains in it because I do actually use it, but that's just what I use.
So it's the same dimensions as like what
it's the same exact
cup.
thing. Yeah. They would have been this size. They wouldn't have been white. By World War II, they would have been brown enamel. But I just like this cup a lot, and it's not going to kill me, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Beneath this, you would have your entrenching tool carrier, but my entrenching tool carrier is on a different set of gear. But it would go back here. It was different from the 1908 pattern gear because the brace's diameter changed. From being 2 inches all the way, they taper now, as you see here in the front, down to 1 inch. It's the same thing. Only the shoulder straps are 2 inches wide, which saves cotton. So back here, the belt attachment and everything is now down to 1 inch straps. If I pull it up there, you can see. So their entrenching tool carrier would have to be changed to 1 inch buckles so it could attach to the back. Guys didn't like it. You see a lot of pictures of original pictures of British troops carrying a full-size spade shovel, either slung right behind their bag here, or you oftentimes will see it in the front. They'll have it just slid behind their equipment, on the front of their uniform, because it was so much more effective than that old 1908 pattern entrenching tool. So on the right side, this one's a little different. Because the Canadians tended to set up their stuff a little different. Revolver pouch, oftentimes not filled with a Webley. Common misconception that the Canadians used a bunch of Webleys. They did use Webleys, but they actually had a ton of leftover Smith & Wessons and stuff from World War I in 455. That would be the most common Canadian handgun, basically until 1943.
Well, okay, so wait a second. So what model Smith & Wesson?
That would be the hand eject Model 2, as it was called. Most Americans will know it as the model of 1917. It is the same exact handgun, except for the chamber.
What it is, it's a large frame Smith & Wesson, and like you said, and then it's not. So the Canadians, wait a second, how did they get manufactured? Because 455 Ely was the U.S. like what Smith was doing.
Webley is what they were chambered in.
No, I know that, but like, so my one. Can't grab it. Not. No touching. No touching. No touching. But my one of my 1917s was a civilian model that says 455 Ely, not Webley. Ely.
Yep.
Is it the same thing, or
the cartridge case like the same? The loading is slightly different, and the bullet is a different shape.
So is that what the Canadians?
Nope. By that time, they had 455 Webley.
But how did they get the contract from Smith?
They did.
I'm sorry. From Colt.
No, Smith & Wesson. They didn't get any Colts.
Okay, you got to talk about this then, because
So, 1915, the British go to Winchester and everybody else and say we need tons of guns. Blah, 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 blah. They start making rifles. P14 becomes a thing. Awesome. Everybody's making P14s. Cool. They needed revolvers as well. They would buy revolvers from Spain, usually Smith & Wesson Model 3 top break revolvers in 455 Webley. But they went to Smith & Wesson and said, hey, we need a 455 caliber revolver. So they had initially what was called the hand eject Model 1. It was called the triple lock. It's a bit complicated because it locked in 3 points when the cylinder was closed, so it didn't have timing issues in a long service life. They're very expensive and kind of hard to find.
Gotcha. Yep.
They decided they didn't need that extra locking surface. They wanted to reduce the price. So that developed into the hand eject Model 2, and they would make a bunch of those in 455, which would then normally be shipped to Canada, and then Canada would bring them to Europe during World War I. Very common thing. In 1917, obviously that stops. America's like, we need 45 revolvers. Smith & Wesson's like, we got one that's already 45 caliber even. We'll shave the cylinders just that much for you so you can put moon clips on them and run 45 ACP in it. There's your model 1917. It's the same gun other than the fact that the American one is spaced slightly more to take clips. So the 45 ACP can go through it. It's literally the same exact revolver. Markings, same place, everything. So
interesting. That's fucking interesting, man. That's fucking interesting.
Another common thing, I don't have it here because it's still in the car from the history event that I did, is they would oftentimes have an extra strap, the Canadians would, and they would carry their mess kits in a water bottle carrier outside of their equipment, slung over their shoulder. That was kind of a uniquely Canadian thing, and all it did was free up some space in your bag. So.
Makes sense.
Yep, and really the only standard difference on this web equipment for what would be changed to somebody that wasn't a frontline troop, if you're a truck driver or something like that, or an artilleryman, you wouldn't have these big pouches. You would have a cartridge carrier that was only 2 pouches. And they would hold 3 clips each still. So, so you would get 30 rounds of rifle ammo, but you were never really expected to have to shoot. But in case you did, you have 30 rounds on chargers. So, yeah, that's about it.
The Pattern 37 is one of the, I think, most influential of the 20th century. Like the 08 and everything like that, and the 16 that you just showed, yes. But everything up until Mali basically was trying to emulate the Pattern 37 and the modularity of it.
All of it was trying to be this because this is one set that does everything.
Yeah.
Literally everything without changing much. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's one of my favorite patterns of the Second World War. Like, I think the Brits had... In both World Wars, I think the Brits had the best webbing. And it was the most universal, most modular, most able to be adaptable and everything like that. And you'd think it would be the US, which is a close second, but the US shit sucked.
Well, the US is always under the doctrine of they're ready to fight the last war, and they always get their ass handed to them right away.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. In a big way.
There's a learning curve in there. But the problem is by the time that learning curve is learned, they're so spooled up, they really can't change anything. It's really hard to anyways. I shouldn't say never, but like once you get so many places built up to make this, you can't just be like, change it. It's better to have something than nothing. It's kind of how the US ends up getting caught into all their equipment. So...
Yeah, and it's funny because really quick, can I show the audience like the my 1917 mounted belt that was used in a dismounted roll. We're just gonna talk about. So this is what I wear for my World War I impression, my U.S. impression, because the 32nd, among many other divisions in the First World War that was going over to France very early on, were issued cavalry belts, right? And that's where you see that 3-round clip pouch for the, it's not going to stay clasped. But anyway, here's the thing is this belt absolutely fucking sucks. Even, okay, so I have an advantage as a big fat fuck because I can put more shit on the belt, right? If you're a small guy, it's very hard to do that. The P37 and the later ones that Devin's going to show are a lot better designed for being modular. It doesn't really matter your body size because, like, I've worn what you're about to show, and I'm like, yeah, it's canvas. It's not great in the rain, but like, it's a lot better, and it's not limited to. I've got 9 fucking pouches for a clip or for clips, and then I've got all these holes in here for. I have to have my canteen that cannot fit on the belt or in a carrier. It's got to be hooked onto the belt, the first aid pouch, blah, blah, blah. And we stuck with that shit through the Korean War until we went with the 1956 universal kind of thing that was, in my opinion, designed off of the P37.
It works because the belt is only trying to be a belt.
Right.
And then you put stuff on the belt. That's how it is. Keep it simple. The US got a little too complicated, tried to do too many things with one piece of gear, which the US has a big history of trying to put as many things into one piece of gear as possible, which they don't need to do. Sometimes it's better to just keep a belt.
Right.
So,
right.
But the next piece I actually got, and it was a really hard set to put together because it's kind of hard to find because it was used in the ground. But it's probably my favorite set. It really is. Pretty neat. And Mike's gonna like this one because this one's got a lot of neat features because it's got a lot of old and new on it. So, what we have. This set's heavy because it's.
Don't knock it over.
Yeah.
I can't see really quick the whole comment. Really quick, we're just gonna. All right, what? I'm not gonna read that verbatim because I don't know who you're talking. Which Mike you're talking about?
Verbatim, even the abbreviations. Read it out.
All right, what N-word, Mike? Here's some Compton bucks.
The abbreviations. Make them the real words.
No, I can't do that. Haven't watched you in a while. I've been working a lot, trying to get a house in Vegas and leaving California. It was going to be there in Texas, but things may change in the future. Shit, man. Like, you're still in Compton? Man, you've been watching me for a long time, man. You've been supporting me for a long time. And I love that. Here's some Compton bucks. That's fucking awesome. But, yeah, good to see you're still alive, man. Like, shit's weird right now. But, yeah, hopefully you can get out of California, man. And actually,
California.
Yeah. But good to see you, man. Shot red.
All right. So, moving on. This is the Canadian Pattern 51 web equipment. Now you're going to be like, huh, that's kind of similar looking to the one we just had. And you would be correct. The only thing
nice sales pitch, Devin. Jesus Christ.
There's actually quite a lot of changes in this when you get down to the nerd stuff. The web straps are thinner cotton and not as good. So you would oftentimes see green dyed Pattern 37 shoulder straps. The original shoulder straps for these are shitty and they would fall apart. So you hardly ever see them with the original shoulder straps. The pouches, slightly different. They changed the closure. They're now the safety, rather than being press studs or snaps, as the Americans call them. They are kind of that Euro style safety pull clip that's put on.
And what became later on another country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one specific country that everyone fangirls over that did stuff in World War II that eventually would just do this.
No. I'm saying this is what influenced us.
Yeah. Everyone did. And the first people to do this kind of closure were the British. They actually had it on Pattern 37 gear in World War II.
And I'm not gonna lie, that is my favorite. That is my favorite fucking style closure.
It's really secure, but still really fast.
It's silent too. It's silent.
It holds up a long time as well. It doesn't wear out like snaps and buttonholes and stuff do.
Yep.
It works for a very, very long time. But other than that, big open pouches still. Same principle. Equipment was the same. Canadians are still using the same rifle in the Korean War, still using the same grenades, same a bunch of stuff. So this is a good pouch for everything. Holds Bren mags, holds Sten mags, holds charger clips, holds bandoliers, holds mortars, holds whatever you want to throw in there. Same thing. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, but make it green.
It's a universal arms pouch, some would say, right?
Yes. Which is good. They work super great. They're still the same heavy canvas. It's all just green now. And there really was no reason to make it green other than it is now to be kind of similar looking to the British Pattern 44 equipment, which is green, jungle green. You could still Blanco this to be tan or whatever color you wanted it to be, but it came from the factory green. To the left side, you can see here, we now have a mess kit pouch on the belt.
Yep.
So same standard British World War II two-pan, one slightly smaller, one slightly larger. They nest in each other. Pouch. Get something out of your bag. You no longer have a small haversack. You do, but you never wear it at the same time as the large haversack. So while you were in combat, you would take your equipment apart and put your small haversack up here. And while you were marching, you would wear your large haversack.
So it's a weird thing, though. I see something that looks oddly like a US M43 E-tool.
This
pouch.
is essentially an M43 pouch because it was designed for the M43 entrenching tool. It goes on top of the haversack. It's literally rounded.
Well, wait a second. That's a P37 essentially. Why is US shit compatible with it?
Well, they put 1910 eyelets on the belt and on the backpack for attaching stuff. So you could route stuff through the belt. All of the Canadian equipment would have belt loops. So you could wear it on the belt if you wanted, or if you just wanted it to sit up higher, you could run it through little hooks. 1910 hooks, same exact pattern as the Americans, and have it dangle below your belt if you would like that. Just a neat piece because the Canadians would get American stuff during the Korean War, and after the Korean War, they would kind of start transitioning from British equipment to more American style equipment. And this is just the conversion point for both. You can use both. Anything pattern 37 is compatible with this. Anything American, 1950s and earlier, is compatible with this. So it's the one website that does everything, essentially. Bag didn't change. One thing that did kind of change on it, though, once again, for your bayonet.
Oh, that's definitely a fucking 1910.
Yep, for attaching whatever. It doesn't necessarily need to be for your bayonet, but it could be for a bayonet. Other side, nothing, blank. Medical pouch down here. This one's actually full. It's original, full of surplus stuff. It's a binocular case. The Canadians never adopted a specific medical pouch. Your like IFAC kind of field medic thing like this was a binocular pouch that had like the hard.
Wait a second. So yeah, because what the Canadians the same as the British, where they just had a bandage pouch built into the uniform and they just had one bandage.
Yes, it's on the trousers. It's on your right leg.
Okay, but the Americans also had the pouch on the gear. Okay, I actually hadn't thought. I mean, it doesn't. It's not like a fucking.
So this would be for your field medic. This would keep a lot more stuff than a bandage in it.
Sure.
So, pretty much all the Canadians would have one bandage in a pocket somewhere, one in their actual dressing pocket on their pants, and then one in the back of their helmet normally.
Yeah.
So, and then moving to kind of the right side here, we have a 1910 style canteen pouch. Weird. With an actual American 1910 canteen in it.
But it's also got the P37 buckles on it.
Yeah.
It's also got the British buckles on it on that cover. Yeah.
It could be literally everything.
So it can be worn, as standalone with a strap or into the
much
web
like
belt.
The American equipment, 2 sets of eyelets. So if you want it up higher or if you want it lower, the middle eyelet is smaller, and that is for the belt adjustment.
Yes, that is one thing that a lot of people don't know. You and I know that, but that's a good thing to tell people because there's 2 sets, and usually people would just go with the lower eyelets because the higher ones, it goes behind the belt.
Yep.
And it will dig into your body.
100%.
So yeah,
But at least this was all options. You didn't have to use any of the 1910 fingers if you didn't want to. Everything can slide onto the belt if you want.
right. So yeah, it is like the most dual purpose. Really quick, shot red in their super chat. Show that really quick. Yeah, I did work Cold War Flecktarn harness G3 gear in Compton and going to guns. You should have seen many heads turning when I walked by. So he wore the fucking it's I don't think it's cold. Well, it's probably just post Cold War.
Yeah.
Because like Flecktarn was like 91, it was officially adopted as far as I remember. And but in the 90s they had all that shit like the web belt with the Flecktarn pouches. So he just walks by, go to conventions fucking in Compton. I mean,
checks out.
Well, it's probably why you're still alive. They're just probably like, oh, fuck that.
We're not fucking with that guy.
Yeah, you got to shoot him, man. Fuck that. Let him
guy's
go.
wearing a suicide vest.
Yeah.
So,
Jesus. Yeah, man. Awesome. Yeah.
So anyways, pretty much the same layout as the British Pattern 37 gear. The only thing that really changed was the belt and some hard points for 1910 hooks on some of the equipment. Other than that, it's all pretty much the same as Pattern 37, but it allows you.
Now you see the evolution.
Every American thing.
Now you see the evolution of where the shit starts to change in the 50s.
You wouldn't really start seeing these in the Korean War until about late 52, early 53.
Sure, like a lot of the U.S. shit they were coming out with. Yep.
So it was not uncommon at this time when this equipment was rolled out for Canadians to be in American uniforms wearing American helmets. That's kind of how most everybody ended up in the Korean War, wearing American stuff, using American equipment.
I know I asked you this before on a previous stream, but like, so did the Canadians, when they first got to Korea, the first contingencies, were they wearing Mark IIIs or Mark IIs, or what were they wearing?
So they would, a lot of Canadians in the Korean War would still be wearing the Mark II Brody. They would get, obviously, turtle helmets again from the British, who had a bunch left over from World War II.
Okay.
Canadians never made turtle helmets, and they were all given a lend-lease to Canada from the British, so they returned them after World War II. And then after the Korean War, the British were like, keep them.
Yeah.
So,
I know they never made them, but like still, it's like the US M1, like they didn't make them until what year?
Late 41.
No, the Canadians, they started manufacturing the M1, or did they just keep buying them from us?
They bought them all from the US.
So they only, before the CG634 and all that shit, the last helmet they actually made was the Mark II?
The Mark II Brody.
Huh.
They bought M1 helmets in the 70s from America. They're all Vietnam pattern. Every single one of them was made in the United States. So, yeah. Canada,
and then all the Mark IIIs and shit were all British Lend-Lease. Okay.
Yeah, but Canada's only like really standard helmet up until like the late 70s was the Mark II Brody. So
fun.
Yeah, it's what year is this canteen? This is actually my seamless first year of production American 1910 canteen. And
wrong cap, or is it the right cap?
No, this cap is one because it went missing during World War I, and they gave it a World War I cap.
1917, yep.
Yeah, but the canteen itself and the cup is seamless. So
it's extruded, yes.
Yeah, blown like glass.
That's what extruded means.
Yeah.
But yes.
So that's the Canadian Pattern 51 web equipment. I have another set in there that I'm not going to dig out that has like the officer stuff with the high power holster, but it didn't change from the World War II one. It's just green instead of tan now.
And then, so are you doing the 58 next, or?
The 58 was British. Canada never adopted it.
Really? So they stuck with this until
1964.
And then?
I don't have a 1964 pet of web equipment. You know why? Because it sucked.
Well, I have the US shit. I have 1917.
Yeah, but like.
I'm just fucking with you. So
I'm going to explain to you what it is, though.
Yeah, no, that's fine. You can sit down too if you're done displaying. You should just have a seat.
No, I got another set after this.
Well, I don't think we need to go into that one today.
No, that one's it won't take long. The 82 stuff, but the 64 stuff was different because that's the time Canada decided that all of their magazines and grenades and everything are going to go in the uniform instead of on the equipment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep.
So the Pattern 64 web equipment, most of its life was a belt with a plastic clip in the front, a set of Y straps, and you would hold a canteen, a mess kit, and an entrenching tool on your belt. On the sides and one in the back. And then all of your AR magazines and everything, and FAL magazines, your C1 magazines, would go into your pockets.
How many mags for a C1 would they have on in their uniform?
It holds the same as the AR magazines. So,
which is how many?
So on your chest, you would have two slanted pockets that would hold one magazine each. One of them was always empty though for your cigarettes. But your lung darts, as they're called. Your waist pockets would hold 6 magazines.
6. So you've got
6 in each pocket. You have one on each side.
So you've got a combat leg at 210 rounds for.
And then your pants would hold 6 in each of your cargo pockets on the sides of your legs.
That's so awkward, though. I mean, like that's fucking. It's not great for a combat setting.
Yeah. So you have room for 28 magazines on your uniform. I
mean, that's that's a lot.
Yep. But the whole thing was, it's like, well, now you don't need your equipment actually to like fight. It was all about lightweight.
Yeah, but then how, if you go somewhere and you're stuck for a couple days, how do you get water? How do you get fucking your e-tool? Like,
what? So, but yeah, so that's the 64 pattern web equipment. They did eventually be like, they did actually come to their senses and be like, yeah, maybe we should make ammo pouches.
May help. Yeah.
And they used that for the C1, which, fun fact about the FAL, the first country to ever adopt it was Canada. Before Belgium, even, Canada adopted the FAL.
That's weird. I thought it was the L1A1, the inch pattern.
C1A1. Well, C1, not A1 at that point.
So it's not the FAL, right? Then
it's the same thing. Just
actually, yeah. No, I'm fucking with you.
Pattern instead of metric. It's
the Canucks actually adopted the one of the best, not the best, one of the best battle rifles that's ever existed first.
Yep. A lot of people don't. That's the whole point of this thing, is to show that Canada's actually been a massive innovator, because you have to be really innovative to be able to do all those war crimes.
You also have yes. But you also have to have a very tiny and very not great military to be able to spend the money in these places and be innovative.
For sure. Canada did a lot of research every time they would come out with something, because they don't have the budget to do stuff like that. So they figure it out right the first time, and then they make it right the first time.
Right, which is, something that bigger militaries with bigger, huge budgets can't really do, because they're like, well, we need to go to the lowest bidder, do this, do that, cut this corner, still be effective, but whatever. And then Canada's like, well, our military is fucking small. And also, to be fair, you guys have always fucking had us.
That's true.
So you can be selective. You can be selective with your military spending, because that looks a lot familiar to me.
It's going to be kind of different. It looks familiar.
I know I said it looks familiar. I didn't say it looks the same. So
what we have here is, this is the last set of Canadian web equipment. After this, they would all go to Molly, whatever you want to call it. This is the Canadian Pattern 82. It would replace the Pattern 51 and the Pattern 64. It was ultimately decided that 64 would replace 51, but it never fully actually did until this came out.
That's like fucking 58 and fucking 67. US 67 had a baby. That's what it looks like.
This is also 64 was the first pattern of Canadian gear that was all nylon. This is also all nylon. So
we were 3 years later, of course, on that. So.
Yeah, I know you gotta follow Canada's, advance, like always.
Hey, how many Canadians fought in Vietnam?
Quite a few, actually, and we sent a lot of aid to North Vietnam. Officially, we sent a bunch of advisors to North Vietnam. Dead serious. I'm not even joking.
I
Same
know
thing-
that's. I knew the answer to the question. It was a rhetorical question,
Yeah.
but like,
because everybody, thought that the U.S. was just bullying a third world country, which they kind of were. And then so a bunch of first world countries actually sent aid and medical supplies and stuff to the north, and Canada actually sent a lot of doctors to North Vietnam and medical stuff and money. So
yeah, I mean, it's. It
so
is what it
needless to
is.
say, we won that one. Second war, we beat the United States at. Just saying. Anyway.
Okay.
But anyways, back to the web equipment. What we got
Yep.
here is C1 pouches, same kind of closure as the Pattern 51 equipment.
How many mags do they hold?
Two.
Two.
So it is a double magazine pouch. They would make ones later that would be 3, and they would obviously take the same exact pattern. And when they would adopt the C7, which is the M16, get longer for the 30 round magazines.
Sure.
But this one's set up for C1. Nylon belt, big plastic buckle to closure. These actually didn't break a lot. These were actually built really well. Canada was one of the pioneers of plastic technology. They actually still are the biggest pioneer of plastic technology in the world. They are the ones that came out with biodegradable plastic, rapidly biodegradable plastic. They were the first people to invent the plastic canteen. The modern polyethylene canteen was invented by Canada. Stuff
Also,
like that.
Canada is the largest exporter of mustard seed,
It's true.
and it's my favorite condiment. So
It's pretty up there.
I respect it. Yeah.
But it's all adjustable. How their pockets and stuff actually kind of line up. I don't know if I have a good spot where it shows it, but it's a really wide belt. Okay, except for right here in the front. It's 2 inches here in the front, but on the sides it goes to 4 inches. It's a really wide belt for distribution, and some stuff would slide over the belt, and some stuff wouldn't. You would have these grommets. If I can move the bayonet Froggo, you'd have these little grommets. And you have little plastic hooks. There's plates that would be stitched to the back of the magazines. Big plastic plates. And on the bottom, there would be 2 hooks that would go out and then down. And on the top, there would be 2 hooks
That's
that
what the
would go
Germans
out
did.
and up. Yeah, and it would
Like Shot Red just said.
Yeah.
Like what he was wearing, those German pouches. That's the same concept.
Yeah,
Yep.
where do you think the Germans got it from?
No, that's what I'm saying. Is like that. Yeah, that's.
So, and it's all plastic. So it's all impregnable to chemical agents, nuclear agents, all that other good stuff, because it's all plastic. Even the fasteners are all plastic. Obviously, it would be secured around the back on the inside of the belt. So those hooks would hold it from the front to the back, but then you would have Velcro that would secure it around the back of the belt to hold it all in place. What we have here, this is the mess kit pouch, but it was dual purpose. Later on, it would be used as the C9 magazine pouch for the drum for the 249 saw.
Yep.
So, but right now, just mess kit in it. Nothing fancy. It has 2 notches, as you can see. The original ones only had 1 down here, and that's when it was just for the mess kit, because obviously the C9 pouch was longer than the mess kit. So it's a dual purpose pouch. In the back here, there wasn't a whole lot. A lot of guys didn't do a whole lot with the back. You would have your butt pouch down here. It is the same bag I have up here. It's not uncommon to see guys actually like in the field or doing police things with 2. Otherwise, this was usually bare, and you would have a big rucksack that you would wear separately. That would
Sure. Yep.
But it wasn't uncommon to see guys put a second butt pouch up at the top, which gave you just enough carrying capacity. So, switching to the left side here, we have the canteen pouch. Same kind of thing, open pouch, hood, yada yada. Works just fine. Next to that, we have, this would be your compass pouch.
It's a big ass compass.
So yeah, it was. You would also keep your, usually your map reading tools and stuff in here too. Your compass and your like.
Every soldier had a fucking compass pouch.
Yeah. A lot of times, most soldiers would actually have compass stuff in here. Bandage.
Sure. Makes sense.
So, next to that, high power pouch. Not every soldier would have a high power. I just have it on here because it shows that there was one made for the web equipment. This has not changed since Pattern 51. Pattern 64 high power pouch, the Pattern 51 high power pouch, the Pattern 82 high power pouch, all the same. The only thing that changed was the materials and the color.
Sure.
So there was even a pattern 37 one that was this, but it wasn't widely adopted because the Canadians made the older style of pattern that had a bigger flap. But basically a World War II design, just the materials and colors have changed. And then back around to the front, we have more ammo pouches. And obviously it was all modular and convertible to whatever you wanted to put on it or what you were doing. Officer patterns have slightly different setups. You have stuff up here for obviously attaching bandage pouches and stuff like that, like the US did in Vietnam, things like that, yada, yada. The only difference is this is an H harness, much like what the US had. Huge yoke. Camo really likes their big padded yokes. It's padded all the way down to there. As you can see, it goes halfway down your back.
Everyone likes their padded yoke. Yeah.
So, just a little more comfortable. But that's the last piece of Canadian web equipment. And there's other pouches. Like I said, they would make more pouches for this design, just like they did for the 64 as it would go and as the weapon system would change. So as they would adopt the C9 and the C7 and the C6 and all that stuff, they would make pouches for that.
And then they went to Mali.
Yep, then they went to Mali after this. The last set of like equipment before Mali.
So that's basically the equivalent of LC2, but it was
the Canadian Alice, essentially. Yeah.
It was designed before that, though, way before
that.
This
is pattern 82, so adopted in 1982.
Oh, so it was around the same time as LC2. So Alice shit.
Yeah.
Around, but it's still got the fucking original vibes, whereas the LC2 shit was like so foreign to what the American traditional gear was, and had been forever. But I guess not, because it was. I think the LC2 was an improved version of the 56 gear. Yeah,
it was basically 56 gear made in nylon, and then they changed the yoke to Y straps instead of H straps.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was all interchangeable. You could put 56 stuff on Alice gear. LC2 gear was adopted in 1967.
That's LC1. That's not LC2.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, and LC2 was I can't remember exactly what fucking year LC2 came out, but no, because it's called M1967 gear.
Yeah,
and it was nylon, of course, and it was very, very similar, but that was LC1.
Yeah, and I'm sure LC2 was just some minor changes and stuff. Like I assume they changed
the pouches,
the plastic, and whatever. And
well, the original LC2 belts were like that. The safety buckle.
Yep.
And then they went to they call it the quick release, which is what I use, the plastic one where you lift it up and then it slides to the side. But yeah, I mean, LC1 shit was used through Iraq, actually, and Afghanistan, and then LC2 is still being used.
Mm-hmm.
So are Canadians still using the pattern 82?
This is still around in the reserves. It's pretty much almost gone. There's not a lot of this left.
Right.
So it's pretty much all gone to Mali. We don't have as large of an army to equip. But since kind of the 90s, Canada started dumping some more money into their military. So now they do actually have a budget. And usually when they do adopt something, they're buying it off the shelf and they buy enough to equip at least half the army at once.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting.
Yeah, because they haven't really designed anything since this. I mean, the CG 634, but almost everything has been what is ever most commercially successful. They're buying it off the shelf now. So, I mean, the Canadians got CG 734, which is the Virtus helmet. It's a revision battle skin Cobra.
Well, that's the thing is we've talked about this before, but like I think the 6 and 734 shell shape is better than the Pasget.
It is,
and I've always agreed with you on that. Like I'm not, you're not going to get an argument from me, but like, yeah,
I think it's dog shit.
What?
Nothing.
I said from me. I don't give a fuck what you say.
I said I think it's terrible. The CG634 shell is terrible.
Okay.
It should have just got a Pasget. I'm just kidding.
Fucking yeah, whatever. You're trying so hard, but no, I mean the Pasget's not bad either. It's just it's bigger than what I think it needs to be.
It is. It's a little bulbous.
Yes, and the CG634 shell, like that whole, like the concept, is still good.
Yes,
but it's more low profile.
Yes, it's just brought in and streamlined just a bit. It took all the bulk out of the.
But it's still the same concept, and that's the thing is like that's why it's good because it protects the the most part of the human head possible while still being user friendly. Their liner system wasn't great, but that's not the shell's fault.
That's not the shell. Shell offered very good protection.
Well, dude, so everybody, all these fucking fanboys are like, "Oh, the Stahlhelm is the best fucking helmet ever. That's why most modern helmets are designed off it." I'm like, no. If you look at where the weak points are in a human head, which is most of it, and you just kind of have that same kind of algorithm, yeah, the Stahlhelm was decently ahead of its time as far as a concept. The fucking World War II German Stahlhelm and the World War One, their liners were absolute dog shit. Complete dog shit. Their
shell covered really, really well, but like there's a lot of things like people tend to forget. Like even in World War One, there was things the British Brodie helmet did better. You had way more padding on the top of your head.
Yeah, with the British one because they had the donut on the top. The Americans put it in the side.
And all the other stuff. Yeah, but great. You didn't get as much horizontal coverage, but you had the most surface area from above of any helmet in World War One.
Exactly.
Which is where all of the shit was coming from.
Until it became more mobile. But here's the thing. The Stahlhelm also had a bunch of inherent flaws that were complained about a lot by German troops. A, it made the sound resonate more than it already did.
It rings like a fucking bell. Yep.
B, it's impossible to fucking shoot prone and not have that thing in your fucking way, which is why the paths get in most like modern Stahlhelm influenced designs have that swoop up to the back, so you can actually be prone without sacrificing all the coverage necessary. And that's why it was funny because this is a good conversation because I battled this out in the comments section, like trying to explain to people that the Stahlhelm, while a good design, so was the Brodie and so was the Adrian. Okay.
Yeah.
It's all about the time, the place, and the implementation of what purpose you need it for. So when I was issued an ACH, right, that's not a bad design, right? We were also issued that Nate pad that was Kevlar, right?
Yep.
Because of the fact that at that particular time when I was in, IEDs were a giant issue.
Yep.
And people were getting killed from having a piece of frag or whatever this big go through their nape
gap in between their body armor and their helmet.
Yep. Exactly. And so they issued that to us and I had to wear that. Now, what did that do? It made it fucking really difficult to shoot prone because I'm sitting there fighting against this fucking Kevlar flat basically in the back. And I'm like, fuck, man. Like, I can barely shoot in prone. Well, you're not going to have to shoot in prone because you're going to be in a gun truck or a fucking whatever. Well, then our mission changes. We're dismounted. Half my or most of my company is mounted. It makes sense for them.
Yeah.
For me, it didn't.
It
I still had to wear it. I still had to wear it though. It's like it's SOP and all that shit. So, but it's that specific to what month it is, what is going on in combat. Because the Stahlhelm, not terrible for sitting there. You've got overhead coverage. Mm-hmm. You got a lot more coverage than you do with a Brodie helmet or an Adrian. You do.
Yep. But if you have to move,
there you go. So there's drawbacks. There's drawbacks to every single kind of design, and that's why when people are like, "What is the best helmet?" I'm like, it depends on what the fuck you're doing or what you expect to do.
Well, here's the cool thing about the Brodie, not so much the Adrian, kind of with the Adrian, but with the Brodie, and you see it in pictures. Do you ever see a guy just wearing the Brodie perfectly straight?
Yes.
Like just normally on his head, like perfectly.
I know what you're getting at, but like,
yes. You could be like, oh, I'm going to go attack stuff. You rock it forward a little bit. I got to go prone. You could rock it back to cover the back of your neck.
Also, if the sun's coming from right there right now.
Yeah. Or if you're like, let's say you're somebody who leans to the right when they shoot, you can cock your helmet to the left to still give you the most overhead protection.
And if you just, here's why I say yes, because I've seen people who are not in a combat situation per se. Mm-hmm. They're just kind of chilling out. They're still wearing the helmet. I don't know if they're wearing it because there's another guy in the picture wearing a cap.
Probably.
No, it is. Like I just
Yeah.
saw it today, but like there's another guy wearing a cap, and then one guy's got it cocked to the right. Well, the sun is coming from the right. The guy in the middle that's eating food is a British soldier, and
Yep.
in World War One is wearing it straight because where he's sitting. That provides him sunshade. It's straight on his head,
Mhm.
and whatever. The other guy's wearing it cocked because the sun is coming from that direction. And the other guy's wearing a cap, like a service cap. And is that the best design for modern day conflicts? Fuck no.
New. But
Fuck
at
no.
that time, that adaptability and that kind of innovation, and it's not obstructing your sight or your hearing at all.
Right. And
Because
that's the
your
thing with
trenches are protecting you from horizontal stuff, in theory.
So what do you think? What is your opinion on overall? I know there was tons of moving parts in the
Mhm.
First World War. What do you think overall out of the Adrian, the Stahlhelm, and the Brody was the I don't like to use that word best, but the most effective design for that time?
The French cavalry lobster back helmet.
That was not an option. I just gave you three options.
Yeah.
You just chose.
No, it still would be the Stahlhelm.
You think so? I think the Adrian.
Too thin.
I mean, at that point, does it matter?
No, but like it suffers from all the same stuff that British helmet does, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The only difference it has going for it is now you don't have as much coverage on the sides. It's the same exact helmet, pretty much. It's just they cut the sides off of it.
I would say the Adrian is kind of like a balance between the Stahlhelm and the Brody. I'd say it's got good qualities of both.
Well, most of the casualties still came from overhead, and you're losing overhead coverage.
Sure, I agree with you. I don't disagree at all with that point. But I think the Stahlhelm, it's fucking heavy. It's a bulky.
Yeah. The Adrian helmet was light. It was easy to manufacture, and the one innovation that wasn't figured out until much later it had was those accordion aluminum strips for crumple zones
and also the comb on there.
Yeah.
Deflects shock waves a lot better than those other two, which we didn't know until just a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Well, they didn't know that at the time either. That's just a coincidence.
No, it's a coincidence, but yeah.
The crumple zone spacer pads to absorb shock in the French helmet was really the only big innovation they had.
Well, but also the Stahlhelm to a certain point had that. So did the Brody.
Mm-hmm.
But not. I think the French did the best.
Yeah.
As far as like separating the actual
was basically a free floating suspension. It was only connected right at the top.
I definitely say the Brody is the most comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because when this is my reenacting helmet. You've seen this in person.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very comfortable, easy to wear piece of equipment. Because, like you said, when you have to get down and you have to shoot it in prone, all you have to do is move it. It's one motion. Yeah. The Stahlhelm, it's almost impossible to shoot prone consistently and accurately.
Just turn it backwards.
Yeah,
that's what they did. Like, that's
a real thing. Yeah, but like, or put the Stirnpanzer on it.
Yeah, oof.
That fucking thing.
That'll rock it forward, so you don't have to.
There you go. Yeah, you don't have to adjust it; it'll adjust itself.
That's right.
But no,
like those cool guys back in the day that wouldn't even wear the Stirnpanzer on their helmet, but they would just take the strap and wear it around their neck so it would cover half their face.
And therefore, you get the sniper masks that came out of that, and yeah, it's like.
Well, I mean, a lot of machine gunners did that. They didn't actually wear it on the helmet, but you could protect your face a bit.
Right. Yeah, from spalling and shit like that.
Mm-hmm. Off of your chest piece. They would kind of tuck it behind their armor, and it would deflect all that shit from going into their neck and face.
Dude, I wore a Stirnpanzer. It was a replica, of course, and I made videos on it. It was Nate's, and I was like, dude, there's no fucking way because this liner system sucks.
Mm-hmm. But you could still utilize that protection to protect some of your head if you just wear it around your neck.
There you go. But you're not wearing it on as it's. Why all these those lugs, those Frankenstein lugs existed was for the use of the Stirnpanzer. Well, a tiny percentage of the troops were issued them, much less used them.
Mm-hmm.
But all that steel was wasted on those fucking lugs because they look cool. I don't know, like, or maybe we can't retool it, but they would have saved literally tens of thousands of tons of
Of
steel
doing that. Yeah.
because they figured that out in the Second World War with the M35, even though that was a two-piece, rivet
It's still a
system.
separate rivet, but yeah.
But it's way more low profile, and it's not necessary to have that. It's like, dude, okay, how about this? If you're gonna have the Sternpanzer idea, why don't you just fucking issue, or why don't you just have, Eisenhüttenwerke Thala or whoever the fuck else is making them, make like 1,000 helmets in each batch that have those lugs, and the rest of them are like the M35 vents, right? And then
here's
issue
the
them to
thing,
specialized troops.
and we could come up with other accessories to go with those lugs.
Sure.
Later down the line. I think it was just like, well, let's leave it because for one, retooling sucks.
Yeah.
Having to shut down lines to retool sucks.
Yeah, because you lose production.
I'd rather have something that's not perfect than nothing. That's pretty much what it was.
Yeah, and okay, so Lexi just brought up a really good point. If you look at night vision NVG brackets, like Rhino mounts, or not Rhino mounts, the brackets themselves on most regular Grunts helmets. So the difference, I would say, is when I was a Grunt, I legit used nods a lot.
There's quite a few people that do, actually.
Yeah, and drivers, 88 mics use them, and also it's a separate piece of equipment that can be removed.
Yep. And now it's actually becoming really important, especially when it got into like tons of stuff hitting the news at an alarming rate. Camera mounts were made for that, to film and record evidence and stuff.
So I would say that NVG brackets are more useful than those fucking lugs for the Sternpanzer ever were.
And they're removable, like you said.
Right, they're removable. But I always had one on when I was in, and most, all my comrades did too. And like, we didn't always use the nods, but when we did, it was just done.
Well, it's also kind of something to keep your helmet a little bit safe because it's metal.
Well, we viewed it as just adding extra frag if you take a direct hit, because ours were aluminum.
But if you're taking a fucking direct hit anyways, you're fucked.
Well, not necessarily, but yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying. It's not a good situation. Like, I know a lot of people, and a few people too, who took direct hits in the K-pot and they're still alive because they were wearing it.
Yeah.
So it's like, but still, I always had it on. And here's the thing is, that Sternpanzer was never meant, it wasn't designed to be issued to everyone.
It was meant to go to machine gunners,
machine gunners and sentries.
Yeah,
that's what it was made
stationary
for.
Troops.
And even the Stoßtruppen, they started wearing them. Some did throughout the war, but they started wearing them, and they realized they're like, this is impeding my ability to do my job.
Mm-hmm.
And they would just shit can the Sternpanzer and just go. And so those lugs, I'm just talking like overall engineering and like overall waste of material. The nods mounts, I don't think is in the same category as that, because of the fact that I would say when I was deployed and when I was just in, I'd say about 70% of the troops that I saw who were out in the field, which I don't know what percentage of the military that was, but 70% of the people I saw in the field wore them almost daily when we were out there.
Yeah.
And of the pogues and the people that logistics supply, people who had office jobs and shit, they also just didn't, a lot of them just didn't wear their fucking helmets a lot.
Pretty much.
And they were also, like I was saying, is when I was in, they were aluminum. Yeah. They weren't titanium. They weren't that alloy that they are now.
Mm-hmm.
They were aluminum. So they were very cheap to make. And yeah, it's kind of the same thing. But I'm just saying a lot more people use nods than use the Sternpanzer. That's the overall point.
Pretty much.
But just to address that. But
what was your favorite set of web gear showed today? Taking effect in all the eras and stuff like that. I mean, I really wouldn't be unhappy to wear any of them. They all had at least one innovation. for their respected time periods, obviously.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking. Just give me a sec. So I'm gonna have to go with the 37. Like, it's the 08's cool and great, but it also is very limited. The 37 is not as limited, in my opinion.
For sure.
I
think
because
I'm gonna have to take the 16 because you could still put grenades in those pouches.
Yeah, here's the thing: is those I know how that would feel with those two big ass pouches, the way they're designed, especially being leather and the way they open and close. That's not my
That's
my
not
cup
your
of tea.
bag. Yeah.
Nope. I thought I was gonna like them a lot more than I did, but I just
So not the pattern 51. All the benefits of the 37, but you could put all the American stuff on it too.
It's a toss up between those two.
Fair.
Between those two, I really couldn't make a definitive decision. Like, because at the time, like what I'm thinking is the 51. When you sell like the end of 52 to like early 53, I would probably, as a Canadian soldier, just have American gear in general, and it would probably have been better.
No, you would have American uniforms and an American helmet. You wouldn't have American gear.
Okay.
Because you're still using your smelly, more than likely.
Yeah. Yeah, then we'll go with the 51 then. All right. Because it's a little bit more modular. It's still got the 37 kind of modularity of it and like the tradition, but it's more interchangeable. And yeah, I mean, okay. Because I mean, I've always been a fan of the 37, just in general.
Yeah, me too. When I found out about pattern 51, and I was like, it's literally pattern 37 that I can put American shit on too if I want.
Yeah, and it's olive green instead of freaking
jungle green,
khaki. Yep.
It's much greener than the olive drab stuff. It's very green. I mean,
I said olive green. I didn't say olive drab. There's a difference.
Well, like it's greener than olive green. Even it's very green. It's probably hard to tell in the light, and because it's an old set.
Well, is it like so? Is P58 gear the same color?
Yeah, it's that. Green.
Yeah, it's that green.
Okay. Green. Yeah,
I would still call that olive green.
Sure.
It's like there's different shades of olive drab. Yeah. There's different shades of olive green, but I would still say it's all because olive drab is black and yellow mixed together.
Yeah.
Olive green is yellow and blue. And so it's and there's I think there's a little bit of yellow in there, but like it's a different color than olive drab. So
I mean, they called it, the British called it jungle green, but it's even alarmingly green.
No, P58 shit is green.
Yeah,
it's
very fucking green.
It's more green than 1956 gear.
It's very green.
1956 is like
that same kind of color. It's just older, so it's faded and it's cotton.
Sure,
so like it's that green.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Like, but yeah, I'd say if I had to use anything, here's the thing: is canvas and leather suck when they're wet.
Yeah.
So it's hard to choose, but
you know what also sucks? Being wet.
You know, it sucks twice as bad as that. Being wet and not being able to get fucking mags or shit out of your pouches while you're wet.
You got universal pouches. You got space.
Dude, even the 56 pouches are fucking shit when they're wet. Like, because you're wet.
There's space in these, baby. You could fit like a toddler in one of those.
Yeah, but if you pack them like you were saying, come on. You're picking a fight right now, and I'm not trying to fight with you.
It's like you could really. It wasn't so bad. They were meant to have room in them, obviously, because they are deep and they are awkward, and the top sits up high, so they did have to be kind of easy for stuff to come out.
Well, so was the British pattern 58, but that still sucked ass, and so did the U.S.
Pattern 58 is a little different because they got shorter pouches.
They do have short, yes, they do, but like also 1956 gear. It's not great when it's wet. Like I've tried to use it and shit when it's wet.
Yeah.
And everybody that I've talked to who was in the Vietnam War,
like I said, you got to use it in the like, because obviously the pattern 82 is going to be better than the fucking 1899 Oliver gear.
Sure, but I didn't say pattern
Yeah,
82.
but like you gotta look at it in its perspective era. So in
That's what I was
1951, when
looking
there's
at.
no plastic,
Yeah.
you know, everybody's using cotton.
That's what I did. You asked me that, and I applied it, and that's why I said the 37. But the 51, I guess the reason I didn't say the 51 is because it wasn't used as long in a combat setting. The 37 was.
It served longer. The pattern 51 served longer in the Canadian Army than the 37 did.
I didn't say the Canadian Army. I said in combat. So the 37 went through the entire Second World War, Korea, and that's a longer combat setting than any war that Canada's been in since the Second World War.
Yeah,
right?
that's 8 total years of fighting. Yeah,
Correct. That's my point. Is like it was used and proven by both the British, the Australians, the Indians, actually in post World War II, the Italians used P-37 gear.
Well, so did the Danes and
until they came out with their own shit.
The Dutch, everybody. Yep. So
and yeah, they didn't. It's weird that most people, except the Greeks loved American shit.
Yeah, except they adopted Canadian pattern battle dress.
Right, but they were wearing cartridge belts, the 1923, and I'm like, or the 45s actually.
Yeah,
and it's like, it's a horseshit design. Like,
yeah, but when you're getting 2 million M1 Garands for free,
yes. Still, I mean, it would have been better going with the fucking P-37 with the M1, which is what Italy did. Which is what
it doesn't matter what weapon system you have with the pattern 37. Shit will fit in it.
Well, and that was the whole concept with the 1956 Universal Arms pouches. And they're just smaller, but you can also throw 2 grenades on each one. That's cool.
True. But you could also hook grenades on your fucking pockets because spoons and
safety. That's not nearly as secure. The fucking
I know, but like you could.
Yeah. You could.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you should, but like no, grenades on the ammo pouches is something that I always thought was a good idea because like then the pin is secured with a strap, and it's like it's a little bit better than putting it on your fucking pocket, and being able to have 2 on each pouch. Because like with my Vietnam kit, I only carry like 3 or 4 grenades, and I have 3 pouches on. Yeah. So like it does get heavy, but I tried to balance it the best possible.
Well, like,
but still,
the other thing. It's something that I talk to people about. Like nobody considers one thing a lot when they're designing equipment. It becomes an afterthought, and a lot of it is
absolutely
fighting at night. So the fact that you know where your ammo pouch is at night, your grenades are connected to your ammo pouch. It makes it very easy to find in the dark or with gloves on when it's cold. You have that. You know it's going to be there. And that's something that a lot of people don't consider.
Yeah, because at night it's like because what I always did, like my SOP personally was I'm a right-handed shooter. And so if I was using a rifle, I would always load first from my non-dominant hand so I can obviously keep.
Yep.
Now I had 2, possibly sometimes 3 ammo pouches on my left side. I had 1 on my right.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I knew exactly where my fucking pouches were, and I could do it at night. I could do it if it was foggy, whatever the fuck bad situation, raining. I knew exactly where those were, and I knew when I got to this one, and it was my last mag, I have to slow down and ask for more ammo.
Yep.
Because I've got 3 mags left, or 2 mags at that point. So that's why I set it up that way. It was because, like you just said, you can do it without thinking about it or looking at it.
Yeah.
And I go, oh, I'm right here on my vest or on my belt at some points. I'm right here. Okay, I'm about to go black here.
Yeah.
I'm orange on ammo. Like, this is not good.
And it's easy to work with gloves, dexterity stuff.
Yep.
Like in the winter, you can't feel as good. You can't grab stuff as good. So if you know where your ammo is and your grenade pouch is connected to your ammo pouch, you know it's there.
Well, that's the thing. Like we have YouTube now, like with all these people that are, hardcore operators and shit like that. But back in the day, it was like we didn't have that. We just had people who were more experienced that said this. What we were just talking about is like
this is what worked for us. Try it.
Because they're like, if you have to look at your hand that is putting a new magazine in your weapon, you're doing something wrong.
100%.
You need to be able to sit there and go, okay, I'm out. Grab your mag, and we also had dump pouches most of the time. Most of us did.
You just throw the empty mag.
So you dump the empty mag into your dump pouch, and then you grab the other mag, and then you're done. You never take your eyes off of what you're aiming at, right? You shouldn't have to. In any weather, you're wearing gloves, it's at night, it's whatever. You should not have to go, you know.
It should almost be muscle memory.
And it becomes that when you train a lot like that. And it's, you know, if you can do that, that's a really good thing, especially under stress.
But now if you do something idiot proof like the Canadians and the British and stuff where you get pattern 37 and crap and it's just a big open bag. It's reach in there and grab it.
Well, my biggest problem with that system is, okay, say you've got C7 mags or M4 mags or, you know, AR mags.
In the pattern 37 gear?
Mm-hmm. So say you've got that, right?
Okay.
It's harder, in my opinion, because I'm not used to it. I also didn't train on it. It's harder for me to realize how many mags I've got left if I've got a huge fucking pouch like that.
Mm-hmm.
I have to actually reach in there, take the time, and realize how many mags I have while I'm grabbing one. You know what I mean? Like it's awkward. It's awkward. For me,
a lot of guys, like you have your small haversack pouch. You would just throw your empty mags and clips in there like a dump pouch.
Yeah,
so
I get that.
The magazines in your thing are full.
The reason I guess I like the double mag pouches like I've been making lately, is because I could place them whether it's on a belt or a vest or whatever. I knew each one of these pouches has 2 magazines in it. And I can feel them. I know exactly, okay, I've got 1 left in this one. I've got 2 left. I've got 1 left. In a big pouch like that, I don't know how many I've got left until I'm reaching in there.
You can still kind of feel it from the outside. It's thicker, but you can do it in theory. And with practice, you would be able to. But like the one problem I have with the system overall, so it's not like a personal preference, but like just how high the tops sit. Now, the British would make pouches and stuff later that would sit lower. They would put the belt attachments up higher so the pouches would sit lower. But like a lot of pattern 37 stuff is up high. And so it's awkward to do that snap while you're like holding your gun, and then you're up here reaching down like this. Your arm has to be up like this to reach down to the bottom of that pouch to get whatever's at the bottom. And that's my only problem with it. Is it's just kind of awkward.
Well, that's why, like, you know, not because I mean, you and I were spoiled with Molly gear, right?
Yeah.
Because all my pouches were down at the very bottom set of loops on my left side, and then I had the one.
I mean, I started on 82 gear, but.
Well, I started on LC2 gear, but like they were still they sit really low.
Same thing.
They sit really low. Like you're right. I couldn't. It's a lot easier to just be down here and just, if you're laying down, if you're standing up, if you're kneeling, you've got this.
Body mechanics help you when it's like at your waist about.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. Is like
it's more conducive to good
instead
body
of having to do this.
To have stuff kind of lower.
I'd rather have magazines in my pocket of my pants than have to do this.
Because like a guide that I use, especially for a lot of this old web equipment, is I like the belt to sit about at my belly button.
That's where it's supposed to sit, though.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't know that. That's why I'm just saying it.
Well, LC2, when we weren't wearing our vests, that's where I had mine.
Yeah, you want it kind of up higher, and that's not too awkward to get at, and it actually distributes the weight really well because it keeps it all off your hips. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of nice. And then you also have like your regular belt around your pants, which is at your belt line, or other stuff. You can do other stuff then instead of wearing your.
Yeah, you can have little pouches like this on there.
Mm-hmm. So like I like to wear the stuff around the belly button, but like those 37 pouches and the 51 pouches are actually sit lower. They stitch the things up higher where they sit lower, but the pattern 37 pouches are just a bit too tall. Yeah,
and especially if you got like a fucking Bren mag where you have to like pull it that far up and then out, that can get dicey. Like chargers, whatever, even a Sten mag, it's
Yeah.
like you still have to pull it up.
Well, at
You
least
know.
a lot of cool stuff about that is they were designed to be so you keep them ammo down and facing forward. So you reach in and then you could just take it out. Like they're all facing the same way. That was the standard. So you could reach in, you're holding your Bren with your left arm, so your fingers off the trigger. You could reach into your pouch and just grab it and ka-chunk right in because they're all.
That's so. Here's the thing: is that's another factor that's relevant today is because I always had my mags.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the guys in my unit did. We had our mags whenever they were on our person, we'd have them faced a certain way. They're always upside down for sand and
you
water.
Keep shit out of them. Yeah.
Yep. And we had the drainage loops at the bottom, or the drainage grommets, but like they were always the same way. So again, at night you go.
You could just slam it in.
You know it's gonna be the right way, and you fucking ride the bolt forward. You're good to go because it's exactly the same on everything. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. So it was a good thing, Brent. I think the universal carrier pouches were good, and I think a lot of people give Canada too much shit. Every single one of those websites had an innovation.
Yeah. No, I mean that's the thing. We just talked about is like you guys have the ability to innovate and make shit better because your military's significantly smaller, and it's like like
except for the Pattern 64 stuff, but there wasn't any wars on at that time, and that shit blew, and it never actually.
Well, it wasn't for you, but yeah,
it still affects Canadian uniform design to this day. The Pattern 64 equipment does.
Yeah, the fucking mag pouches and shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was the innovation. You should only have 3 things on your belt: your entrenching tool, your canteen, and your mess kit.
Hey, your E-tool goes in your fucking ruck.
Yeah, and
that's
you will like the Pattern 64 rucksack though, because it was the American lightweight rucksack.
I actually don't like the lightweight rucksack.
I love the lightweight rucksack, at least the Canadian configuration of it, because it's a little better.
Here's the thing: is I understand its significance. I understand. My favorite is the fucking Alice, the LC2.
I like the Alice too, but
I think it's a refined version of all that shit that was being innovated at that time.
Yeah.
And the Alice pack is still my favorite actual rucksack. The problem I have with the lightweight rucksack is that to me that's a backpack. I cannot fit enough shit in there. It's all about how you jury rig the frame to fit other shit on there. And it's like, well,
that's where the Canadian one's different.
So it's the rucksack itself is bigger.
So the rucksack itself is bigger for one. The frame is the same. That's about it.
Sure. I don't have a problem with the frame.
Yeah.
The frame is fine.
So the rucksack's a little bigger, and then you had a whole extra bag that you would connect because you would wear it on the top. Your rucksack would be on the top of the frame.
Yeah.
And it was a little wider than the American lightweight rucksack. And then you would have a bigger bag that would attach underneath.
Okay.
Called a valise.
Okay. Yeah. I don't. Well, we got to take a piss. Pull up a picture of that fucker and we'll share it.
Okay. Sure. Oh, shit, my desk. All right. Ba. Okay. Let us see here. Oh.
I'm back. You get that picture?
Welcome back. I got one, but I'm trying to find one that's like of good quality with the release on it. So,
really quick, I'll just answer some comments because I got to go back up.
Sure.
So, Shot Red says, what camo patterns and designs did MacV SOG wear, and did they use solid colors? Yeah, they used... MacV started out as one thing and it became another thing to make like a very abridged version of it. They would wear, in the very early days, they would wear solid colors, yes, and they would wear Duck Hunter camo, like the original, not World War II, like frog skin. It was like Duck Hunter camo, tiger stripe, and all that shit. And then, but they would still mix. Like, if you look at pictures of MacV SOG from like 63 through the end, or 61 rather, they just, it's a Mod Podge. Like,
they even wore Levi's jeans at one point.
They did, actually. Yeah, you've seen that picture too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so they would wear a bunch of different shit. And then I think towards the end, like in the mid to late 60s, they started wearing, from what I've seen, mostly either olive green 107 jungle fatigues or tiger stripe. Again, that's my opinion. That's not a fact, but that's what I've seen and what I've researched. So, topless. Canadians invented no charge topless dancing back bacon and the cure for syphilis. Anyone else see that all the things Black Americans invented? What were you trying to say there? Anyone else see all things? Who invented CAD-PAT? I mean, yeah, funny.
The Russians, believe it or not.
Probably.
They actually invented the digital camouflage. A lot of people think it's the Canadians, but
it's actually the U.S.
Since when?
Actually, the 70s, that fucking experimental pattern they used with the armored division.
So the Russians invented digital camouflage in 1938.
That's not digital camouflage.
It is.
Are you talking about the amoeba shit? Like the fucking...
No, not the amoeba shit. No. What a condescending Canadian fucking... learning one day about Russians and why their shit's better than the Americans too.
I was just gonna do a bunch of different things that would probably get the stream shit canned. So, Paz got the shape right, with the Stahlhelm didn't. Paz still it is pretty bulbous, but it's better than the Stahlhelm in my opinion.
For sure.
I hate marching with the 1917 helmet at World War I events because my helmet keeps whacking my rifle.
All right,
Tilted.
so I got the picture there if you want to.
Oh, yeah. Just really quick, let me get through the comments. There's not that many left. The impression it tries to do everything. Blah. Finished. This shit's heavy when I first put it on. Welcome to the world of military helmets. They're not light. Like everybody that has never experienced a military helmet,
you're like, oh, these are heavy.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, they are. You do get used to them, but it does take a bit.
I love when you hand them like a one that's like really lightweight, like a French Adrian. And they're like, wow, that's weighty. And I'm like, you should see a Pazget. It weighs like 4 times as much.
An extra large Pazget, you know?
Yeah.
Fuck it, eh? I think special operations group look at the OSS, figured out on the fly. And I mean, yeah, it's.
All right.
Yeah.
So that is the basic Canadian Pattern 64 rucksack.
Okay.
It looks the same. It's actually dimensionally larger.
It's also more coated of like vinyl.
It looks like nylon that is rubberized on the outside.
That's what I mean. Yeah. So it's kind of coated. Because my shit's just straight up nylon, my lightweight.
Nope, so. There's a nylon that is rubberized on the outside, and it is larger. It doesn't quite look like it.
No, I know it's larger because the lightweight rucksack doesn't. It goes. Yeah, I get it. But so where's that pouch or that bag you were talking about? That
here, I gotta find that one now where I saved it. The one that has the valise on it.
Yeah, the valise.
A valise, yes. Okay.
Fucking piece of shit.
There is the one with the valise.
Oh, on top.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's basically what the U.S. now calls a sustainment pack.
So the stuff that would be in your valise would be like changes of clothes, sleeping equipment, rain tarp, shelter, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, we God, I wish I'd have I should do a video on how we used to pack our Alices because we would.
I'll tell you what though, I made a video on how I packed my rucksack, and people were like, "Well, it wasn't even Canadians; it was like Americans." They're like,
yeah.
The manual says you got to do it this way. That's packing.
Fuck the manual. We never fucking use the manual.
Yeah, exactly. And it's
it's whatever makes
all
sense.
All these old boomers coming out of the woodwork telling me that this is what we gotta this is how we packed it. And it's like, well, this is
Thank you for your peacetime service stateside 82 and 83. Thank you.
Yeah.
100%.
It's like, this is how I packed it, and this is what it was like. So, but I got a lot of hate comments on that video. People were like, that's retarded. Why would you do it like that? It's like,
dude, if I made a video like that, I would probably get 10 times that because I was fucking.
I'm just letting you know you can, but I'm just going to let you know you're going to get so much fucking flack from these keyboard warriors that think they know what they're talking about.
I also put my socks in the outside pockets of the
Alice pack. Easy to get at.
But there you go. Well, they're going to get wet. Yes, they did, but they were less wet than the ones I was fucking wearing most.
Another thing I really wanted on the outside of my pockets was my gloves.
I didn't actually. It's weird. I never use. Well, I don't want to say never. Don't ever say that. But I don't like gloves in general. I just.
Yeah, I didn't like wearing them. I hardly ever did. Especially out, just patrolling, whatever.
Unless it was fucking 10 degrees or less.
Yeah.
I just rolled like this, right?
Well, sometimes it's go grab this gross piece of evidence or move this fucking rotting whatever out of the way.
No,
or
rubber gloves.
Set up this concertina wire. I wanted to have my gloves ready.
Sure. No, I'm just talking there was people in our unit who wore gloves all the time.
Hardly ever took them off. Yeah.
Yep, and they weren't fingerless. They were like gloves. They were like gloves. And I just was never one of those people. I want to feel the weapon. I want to be able to like know everything that's going on.
I like having all my dexterity. I liked it so I could be able to pick up small shit.
Right. And
That's hard
that's
to
the
do
thing.
with gloves.
But here's the thing is, were the guys in my unit who fucking wore gloves all the time, were they wrong? No. It's whatever works for you.
Preference, yeah.
Like that's the thing. God, we should make some videos on that about like I'll comment once in a great while about that's fucking stupid because of what I think. And sometimes I think I'm right, but like I've seen so much here's the manual. Here's the regulations, right?
Now
Literally
throw it out the window.
Everybody in a combat arms unit who's got a rucksack and is having to live out of that bitch for a fucking week plus. They're tired. They're carrying all this fucking ammo, this water, food, whatever.
Changes of clothes, shelter.
Nobody gives a fuck if you're wearing gloves, if you're wearing the correct socks. The whole green socks, like the issued socks thing, went out the window while I was still in basic and AIT.
Those socks, I hate those over the calf socks. They blow.
Well, no, because they were also polyester. And we were like, no, we're just going to wear cotton white socks and just cover them up.
Just regular ass crew cut socks.
And guess what? We got caught a couple times out in the field, and our drill sergeants were like, why in the fuck is your troop wearing fucking white socks, like cotton socks, non-regulation socks?
Because it allows us to perform our duty better.
Yeah.
Normally that was enough. People were like, all right.
Because his feet are wet and cotton dries quicker than polyester and doesn't make his feet rot. All right, carry on.
Yeah, exactly. If you gave it a half decent reason, people didn't give a shit.
Dude, yeah.
Well, I'm so glad that you did your 1 weekend a month back in the 80s in the National Guard and you had to have everything squared away. And you never spent a night in the fucking field. Dude, when you're over there actually fighting in a real fucking war, do you know how much shit people get away with and nobody gives a fuck? You know how uncommon it wasn't uncommon to see somebody with a beard like me or Mike.
Right.
Out there, and nobody gave a fuck.
Well,
when you got back to base, you shaved.
Well, the thing I was talking to, I think I was talking to my buddy Chris, and Chris Green, the guy that my friend, not Jonesy, but like not that Jonesy's not my friend, but like my childhood friend. And I was talking to him about like when we were in Iraq. Because we, as an infantry unit, we never salute our officers in the.
You don't,
unless you're on garrison and there's other people watching. You just go, "How you doing, sir?" And they're like, "Good," or "Shitty." Go fuck yourself. Okay, fine. That's how it goes in the infantry and most combat arms. Is you do not salute your officers, especially out in the field,
unless you don't like them. Then you do it all the time.
Right. Which is actually kind of funny, but like but when we got to Iraq, where we were at, we were under MP command, and those
where you do it constantly,
dude. And I'm like, we're in a fucking combat zone. Like, we don't know if there's somebody with a rifle that can see us.
No, I know there's somebody with a rifle that can see you. That guy right in front of you. You're talking to him. He's got one.
Yeah, I guess that. But you know what I'm saying is like we just couldn't go over that. And so we like had a little huddle and we're like, okay, if it's in front of anyone else, any of the pogues, just go through the motions, but like we'll just keep it the same way amongst ourselves. Like it doesn't matter. Okay. We never disrespected our officers. We'd always call them sir and all that shit. And be like, hey, we'd listen to them. But we had a very close relationship. They weren't fraternizing with the enlisted, but they weren't treated.
Now, what if you were like me, where you distinctly remember meeting an officer whose last name was literally Shizbag?
That'd be pretty badass.
Yeah.
Well, so I was telling Chris the other day, was it yesterday or the day before? Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I was telling him that when we got that policy of like because we would at first our unit would walk by our officers and be like, "How you doing, sir?" All that shit. We'd be like, "Why did you not render a salute? That's an officer." And then our officers would be like, "Ah, fuck." Well, no, they don't. It's and then they're like, "Whoa, So that's conduct unbecoming of an officer in the United States Army.
Oh.
What do you do? And then,
Was your officer like, "Where's my salute?" And don't yell at me, shitbag.
well, yeah, it was just like what it was just like dumbfounded. Like, really, we're doing this?
Yeah.
And so we'd walk by them, and
to be fair, if the MPs didn't have shit like that to do, they wouldn't need MPs.
Well, there you go. But so our salutes went from the typical. My salute's horrible. I haven't done it in many years. But like this, it just went to this. That's why I just got in the habit of just doing this. And our officers do the same thing. They'll be like, "Yep."
You just pull the Himmler.
I rendered a salute. They rendered a salute back. We're good to go. So what we would do though to fuck with our officers, like especially our platoon leader, who became a higher ranking officer eventually, which is funny as shit. But like, well, not funny, but like, I think it's funny because he's a fucking nerd. Yeah. You know who I'm talking to if you're watching this, which you're not. But so we would drop into an officer file. So there'd be like, 5, 6 of us enlisted guys in a gaggle fuck walking. And we'd be like, okay, drop 10 yards away from each other. And the officer would be like, whether it was our PL or XO or our CO, be like, oh, fuck you fucking clowns. Fuck you. And it'd be like, the greeting of the whatever time, good morning, sir, good afternoon, sir, and all that shit. Yep. We'd render a salute and shit. They'd be like, yep. And all of a sudden their salutes started going to this. They'd be like, yep. And we were just laughing. And they got yelled at for that. I'm like, what does it matter?
That's just how people are. Like I said, those mommy's princesses, you gotta.
Dude, it was funny. Like, and the one time that was the most hilarious is my platoon leader, my PL. We had a barracks there that we lived in. I will never bitch about our living conditions. We got so lucky on that deployment because we were at that point, like a pretty secure place, and they had built infrastructure, and we got these barracks that were like, I think one rotation. I think the rotation before us was the first one there.
Okay, that's pretty nice then.
Dude, it was a dorm, right?
Yeah, bougie.
Dude, it was. I will never bitch about that. I will never say that my living conditions were so bad. They were crowded, we'll just put it that way. But like they were never, I'm not gonna bitch. Anyway, so we had this little area right outside of the door that we'd walk out of the building and into the building. Yeah. And it had like a metal, like a steel staircase with like a diamond board that went up to the like top the floor. Plate stuff on it? Yeah. And that would go to the entrance on the top floor. But that place was considered by everyone to be undercover. Didn't have to wear a hat. You could be in civvies. You could, do whatever under there. No salute zone, right? Didn't matter. So, but it was also our smoke pit. And I could tell one day that our PL he was just his body language. He was walking back and he's like just fucking dragging from whatever the hell he had to do. Mm-hmm. And I could just tell he was. And so as he's walking down this little like sidewalk thing that we had, I was in my PTs and I put my cigarette down and I run out of cover. And I just run to the salute as loud as possible. I go, "First and forward, sir." And he's taking a sip of water out of a fucking liter bottle.
Yeah.
And he goes, softball pitches it, hits me square in the nuts. I mean, you could not have done a better throw. Square in the nuts.
Yep.
And I'm like doubling over and shit.
Holds you like a chair. Yep.
Yep. And he goes, he walks by me and renders the salute back and goes, "Lead the way." And walks inside.
Ooh.
And I'm sitting there. He's smiling too, but I'm sitting there like on the ground, literally, because it was a whole leader.
Got it just right.
Oh Christ, was that a good throw? And I was just like on the ground. Everybody else is like, you're laughing at me and shit. And so our PL walks into the barracks and goes to his room and shit. And he's like, talking later, he goes, "I'm sorry about doing that." I'm like, "Nah, I deserve that." He's like, I'm having a bad day." And I'm like,
it's all fun and games.
I was like, I was fucking with you bad. Like, I didn't have to do that. So I get it. Don't worry about it. But it's like, it was so fucking funny. But he was walking by me and smiled and said, "Lead the way." And like, okay, gotcha. But no, he was a great. Oh, actually, dude, I should show this on the stream really quick. So I found this. My parents dropped off a bunch of shit from where I used to live at their house like years ago, and I fucking thought this thing was gone forever. I'm gonna make a proper video on this. I'm not gonna unroll it right now. So our PL knew a bunch of people back home who volunteered.
What is that?
This is a fucking quilt.
Seriously.
I'm
That's
not
awesome.
shitting you, dude. So, and it had the straps and everything. And so he got our platoon, only our platoon. All right. He got our platoon one of these each. And I use this fucking thing every day in Iraq. And I used it when I was telling Chris this the other day, like when I was coming home on leave, I wore this thing on my assault pack because it's really easy. You got the two straps right there. I could just put it on the molly loops. So I used this and I traveled around the world with this thing. It's yellow now. It's not like new anymore.
Gotta wash it, yeah.
No, I'm not going to wash it ever. Nope. This is one of those things that I'm not going to use probably ever unless I need to, but I'm not washing it.
But it's probably got all that gross Iraqi ass sweat juice on it.
Doesn't smell like that anymore. So, but anyway, so I'm sitting there. I was in the Atlanta airport, and I don't remember if I was coming home or going back to leave. Probably going back. And I had this thing, and I used it as a pillow because it's fucking awesome. So I'd have it on my assault pack, and I'd flip it around, and then just, it's fucking awesome. And this dude, I'm like passed out halfway. This dude walks over and goes, "Hey, Private, where'd you get that?" And I went, "What?" And it's like I'm pretty sure, can't remember if it was a bird or a star, but it was a high-ranking officer. And I went, and I was about to hop up. He goes, No. I'm just saying, where'd you get that? And I was like, our PL had it made for our platoon.
Like a church sewing club make it for us or something.
That's exactly what it was, actually. Yeah. And I said, our PL had it. He goes, Can I touch it? And he touches it because it's lined. It's got like a little layer of lining. It's a fucking proper quilt. He's like, "That's great. Why don't they issue shit like this to our troops more?"
Because they don't care.
I'm like,
you know that, sir. Yeah.
Right. But it was funny because it was incognito for most people. They didn't realize that
like
it wasn't
a nicer movie is all it is, really.
Dude, this thing was awesome. It's so multi-purpose, and only the people who were in our platoon. So that's about, because we got split up. So that's about 25 people tops got these. And I asked my former PL about this the other day. I was like, "Hey, do you remember who made those?" He goes, "I cannot remember, but it was some volunteer group that, but yeah, I found it and I'm like, holy shit, I still got it." And it's made out of like the 50/50 nylon cotton ripstop. And
throw it on the bed, start using it.
Well, it's not that big. It was never big enough for me, but it was comfortable. Bed, yeah, it's for but dude, I used this when we got back, even like when we were doing training, and all the new guys were like, "What is that?" I'm like, "This is something you get from going to Iraq," as a joke, Yeah. They're like, "Really? Why don't they issue those?" And I'm like, "Because you're not special enough."
It's like, do you know how many dicks you have to suck to get out of it?
Yeah. But no, like I remember our PL, he was cool fucking dude. Absolute nerd. But like he just said, "Hey, platoon formation in 10 minutes." And we're like, "Uh-oh."
And he's giving you all a present.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's like, "I got this big box of these quilts that were made for each one of you, and we use the ever-loving shit out of them. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to replicate how they made these, and I'm going to try to make them myself."
That would be cool if you made blankets like that out of fabric. You know how well those would sell?
I think so, because dude, that it was better than most of, like 95% of the shit we were issued. That was better. And I'm like, but yeah, because we asked him, when he was handing these out, we're like, are we allowed to like, use them?
Yeah, it's the right color. Who cares?
Yeah, he's like, if anybody has a problem with it, just send them to me. I don't give a fuck. I'm like, okay. Or something like that. We're like, okay, so it's not authorized. He goes, "It's authorized by me. That's all that matters."
Yeah.
All right, sir.
Welcome to the field, baby.
Dude, we Yeah, that thing. I'm just really surprised it still exists, and I was able to find it. But and then I can replicate the because there's really it's just material and stuffing and there's a couple quilt stitches on there, but
That's all right. Yeah, you're gonna need those on something that big, but
yeah, it shouldn't be too hard. Yeah, that's just one of
even
the
if you
little
just wanted to do like what the Woobies did, where you just put a bunch of big zigzags in them.
right, and that's I don't think it's necessary for this, but because it definitely is held
If
up
it's
like
got any like polyester batting or anything on the inside, you want to do that.
well, they've got
Are you ready?
okay, there's
Get out of here, Cody. Nobody wants you.
shut up, be nice. So it's just down the middle, it's just a top stitch,
Yeah.
but actually it's probably like a 4 no, it's probably a 5. Anyway, then they did the quilt stitch towards the edge, and then they probably did another top stitch. So it's not that complicated.
No, it'd be easy to do, but I'm like, you just got to make sure you actually put the stitching through the center of the blanket and stuff. If it's got any, most quilts have like a polyester batting.
Right, and that's the thing is like I'm gonna have to use that machine that I'm about to buy to do this.
No, you can do it on your regular one. It has
I know you could, but again, I just want to have one it's not gonna, you know what I mean, like destroy the machine.
Well, no, it should go through 2 layers of fabric and polyester batting pretty easily. You could do that.
Yeah, and then they Jesus Christ, they folded the edges under like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, well, you don't want them to fall apart. You'll make them nice.
But yeah, it was made very nice. Whoever made this, I really wish I could figure out who made this, because it did help me out a lot, and I just want to thank them.
Well, the thing is, they're probably dead. It was probably some like 90-fucking-year-old woman.
Well, it was a bunch of people. It was a bunch of people that did this.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'm sure like it was some church, because like we had churches like send us blankets and stuff.
Yeah,
where they would just like have a sewing club,
right? And we got like blankets and shit.
like throw blanket, and
we got those. But this one we actually most of the people in my platoon, like we actually just use this. We would carry it on our gear.
Yeah.
And people would be like, "What the fuck is that? Is that authorized?" We'd be like, "Yeah, our PL authorized this when he gave it to us."
See, people want them. How much are you charging?
Who said that?
Brennan Gill. How much are you charging? How much do you want?
I don't fucking know. I haven't made one. I don't know how much time it's going to take.
Did you make any of those? Did you do any videos on that fancy German camo I gave you?
No, not yet. That's yeah. I've got to, right now I'm in the process of cutting a shitload of fabric out for just helmet covers, just to get, so it's consolidated and like whatever. But I'll show.
I just wanted to make sure you let people know that it's like legit, actual fucking German, only made for like 6 years camouflage.
Well, it's not German, it's Prussian, but whatever.
The stuff I gave you?
I'm fucking with you. Jesus Christ. Joke, not a dick. Don't think so hard.
Well, I can't see your face to tell if you're joking.
I know, I'm getting the fucking fabric, dipshit.
I know, but like, I can't tell when you're being sarcastic or not when you can't see your face.
All right. So, yeah. God, I got fucking cat and dog fur all over my fucking face.
Happens.
So here's the ones that I cut out today. Woo! Spoiler.
Never seen it. That camouflage looks terrible.
Yeah, it's pretty ugly. So this is the I'm just trying to find the mark.
It's on the like lacy edge.
There it is. Yep, got it. Yep. So this is the German. God damn it! Come on. I don't want to unravel it, but I also don't.
Yeah.
Probably one of the best desert patterns I've seen in a while.
You're frozen right now. Yeah. I'll let you know when you come back. There you go. You're coming back.
Okay, good.
Yeah, you're not quite up to the quality you're at, but you're getting there.
Yeah. Good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so this is one of the best desert patterns I've seen in a while that was never officially adopted, which is dumb. And I just fucking, God, I just had it. Oh, there we go. Why is this not cooperating?
Made in Germany. Look at that.
Yeah, it's really cool. I'll be making a helmet cover for sure, or anything Devin wants out of this. And then,
Yeah, I'll just take the helmet cover. That'll be fine.
and then you said a medium or a large
For what?
for the helmet cover.
A large.
Okay. And I don't know why the hell they wouldn't adopt this instead of Troppentarn. Well, we talked about it when you were here. I know that, but like,
there's a reason for it, but it's
political.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's
because
like
the special forces guys use the shit out of it.
Mm-hmm. And it's good stuff. And so I'll be making a very limited run of these, unless you want to make a uniform out of it.
No, I don't have any desire or really any need for it. I'll take a helmet cover just because it'll be cool.
Of course, yeah.
I figured I was like, I'm not doing anything with this fabric. I got it for free as a throw-in with something else when I bought it.
Okay.
And I'm like, I know it's rare, so I'm going to hold on to it. But it's...
Yeah. And this
it's a really cool fabric.
It's going to be really fucking cool. And I don't know if I'm actually going to... I don't know if I actually do make a run of helmet covers, it's going to be super fucking limited. And...
Yeah.
Like, it's not... it's just
because like
fucking...
good luck finding sparse Troppentarn anything.
Or I might just fucking make helmet covers for you and me, and then keep it, and then.
Well, I just like do enough to make like 5 helmet covers or something. Do like a tiny limited run because it is so rare, and it would be great for other people to enjoy. But
sure, yeah.
Because I've always been the idea where it's like, cool, I got my one now. Now I'll leave a bunch of the other stuff for people to enjoy.
Yeah, no, I get that, and I will definitely. What I'll do is when I make the very limited run, I will use my World War II USMC equipment stamp with my name on it, and write a serial number on each one.
Perfect.
And be like, this is if somebody wants to confirm that this is made by me, yeah, there you go. So, and then I'll also put the Mike's Militaria stamp.
Yeah,
in the inside.
Heck so, yeah.
But yeah, that's dude. That's a great desert pattern.
It's probably one of the best that's ever been designed. It really is.
I think so because like it's
got pink. It's got a lot of pink.
That's what I'm saying.
Tan, but it's got some darker colors to help.
Because we've always bitched about the fact that most desert patterns overcomplicate the shit. And as much as I love 6-color, let's be honest here. I love 6-color for the nostalgia and all that shit.
Yeah.
It's way too dark and it's overcomplicated. A desert environment is pretty fucking simple.
Yeah, this is 3 colors. It's light tan, very light pink, and coyote brown, essentially.
It's like a light salmon pink and it is a darker brown, but I'm sure it'll fade. But like, this one right out of the gate would be great in a desert environment because
in a
people don't understand, and I've said this on videos, but it's been a while, so like whatever, that in the desert, lighting is everything because it changes drastically throughout the day, and pink reflects so well onto the pink that's coming off the sand and all the quartz and the sunlight and the dust in the air and all that shit. Get a little bit of dark brown, but this one has got enough dark brown, but not too much.
Yep.
To kind of darken it up
enough to kind of break up the brown spots in there aren't really to blend in with anything. The brown spots are more to break up the human silhouette.
Yeah,
because the other colors are too similar.
Yeah, if I were to have to go to a war in a desert environment, but I was able to like choose my own camouflage pattern to wear, this would be it.
That's way up there.
My second one is Marpat Desert.
Yep.
My third one is actually 3-color that's been faded. Fourth one would be Cadpat Arid.
Yep. Do you know? So that pattern, the German pattern, right there, that is the same exact 3 colors in the Canadian Arid.
I know. We talked about this when you were here.
They took the colors from the Canadian Arid Cadpat to make that.
But they made it more natural looking by
it's in their pattern. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in the Flecktarn pattern.
And I think Cadpat's too small. I think Cadpat's too small. Like any digital pattern is pretty much too small.
Pretty much, yeah.
But this is about as close to a perfect desert pattern. And I'm talking most deserts, not just specifically like, the Mojave Desert or the Sahara or, Saudi Arabia or Mongolia.
It'll work in a lot of places.
Because it's got the same colors that you need. Because when I was in Iraq, like I noticed that shit. I noticed that it gets really very pink.
Yep.
And it's not always just tan. And that the pink works during the day because then it gets lighter. Yep. And that at night, it's also working with the fucking environment.
Mm-hmm.
So
and 3 colors. Really good. It's the reason I was so happy to get it is because, for one, I knew it was rare. Especially when it said made in Germany on it. And it's like I had seen pictures of like KSK people wearing it.
Yeah.
And stuff. I'm like, I know it's rare. I know not a lot of it was made. And it was actually only manufactured for about 6 years, which isn't a lot. If not a lot of people are using it, there's not a ton of fabric out there. It's not like they're making it continuously for 6 years. It's like they're making it in tiny, short bursts for 6 years. And
well, maybe if I'm able to spark the interest, maybe they'll give me a couple more bolts in a run.
Yeah,
because
it's a really
fucking awesome pattern. It's a great desert pattern. And really quick, I want to address some comments, and then I'm going to hop off and go watch Love Island with my better half.
I got to go shower and shave.
Update on the Waffle House experience. Not bad food-wise. Boomers still suck. Fair. That's a great update. Thank you. Hey, Mike. Yeah, hey. Make more of those for the store. But yeah, that's what we're talking about. Surprised to say another sewing stream. Yeah, I'll get going on those again. I've just been I've been doing like the prep work mostly lately.
Yep.
I should stream that though, because it's like I'm.
You should. People want to learn how to do that too and see that as well.
Yeah, but learning it and like, oh, I'll do that, and then doing it, you're like,
well, they're gonna fuck it up if they just.
It's so much work. It's so yeah, but okay. I'll start filming prep, and I'll do live streams on prep. Still waiting that 119 or cool 70s looking pattern that you showed off a couple streams ago. The Mitchell pattern that was blue and what does that say?
That was blue and had some crazy shapes.
Brendan, I don't know what you're talking about actually. The 70s looking pattern. It was blue and had crazy shapes. I wonder
if he's like confusing it with like Urban Track.
Yeah.
Well, the Miami one.
Oh, the tiger stripe with like the red and shit in there.
Yeah.
Oh, I should show you
the Miami tiger. Yeah.
Were you here when I had that fun pattern, or did I show you this?
I don't remember. Yeah.
I'll show other people. Cuddy cuts. Relax. It's okay for you, for your eyes only on this stream. I did get another bolt of fabric that, yeah, you saw this. I don't know if I've shown you that I actually got the fabric though. If you guys, this is also a very limited run because it's from one place. Who here likes M81 Woodland?
It's my favorite pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I would love a helmet cover made out of that. Dude. Because like right now, my ECH has a Woodland helmet cover on it. It's a large ECH, so I had to get an extra large ACH cover for it.
Yeah.
But like, I would replace the helmet cover I have now with that.
Yeah, it's Half of it. Well, it's not hanging on the ground. Okay, cool. Um, dude, that to me is so fucking cool because the colors are all completely correct.
Yep, I would wear a whole uniform made of that. And the best part is like people look at it like at a distance and be like, "It's fine," but at, like a closer glance, they'd be like, "Wait a second."
Yeah, I'd be like, bitches love me.
That's right. I would wear that. Oh
Dude,
my
it's
goodness.
so fucking awesome. Like, and that one's got an embossed, or not an embossed, like a, what do you call it when they do the edge, like the German, like made in Germany thing on the edge. No, it's tagged basically
Yeah.
from who made it. So it's like, motherfuck, I'm struggling tonight. I keep inhaling spit.
Well,
It's one of those.
how old are you and you haven't figured out how to breathe yet?
Well, I start breathing too fast. I get excited about something, and I just start inhaling spit, and I'm like, no. So here's the
You're
thing.
just like drooling like a mangy dog, sucking down your own saliva.
Yeah. But anywho, I love that pattern because the colors are great, and
Yeah.
it's chicks with tits and ass. Like, I mean, it's awesome.
And it's in my favorite pattern. I love
So,
M81 Woodland.
you know,
It's on my airframe even.
You and every other fucking boomer. But
It's on my airframe even.
yeah, the one you were wearing for when we were doing our
For our
ballistic
last
tests.
ballistic test video, yeah.
Yep.
You're like, you fag in your high cut helmet and blah blah blah.
I still stand by that. I don't like high cuts. I never have.
Well, here's the thing. I didn't want to be hot, and I wasn't afraid of getting ricochet like you were. So
Yeah, even though you almost.
I mean, to be fair, I shot a second person
that
day.
hasn't been released yet.
So, oh, it hasn't.
No.
Yeah, I shot a second person that day.
Not killed. Nobody's dead. But it was Devin doesn't like Americans, I guess.
Yeah. Are you gonna subtitle that in the video of like when it happened? I'm hit.
I'll make sure the subs are on, but like,
Okay.
because I didn't know what the hell was. I couldn't hear him, and then you turned
I
around.
looked back because he shouted, "I'm hit." Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
And then I was like, everything
He's
okay?
like walking around, and I'm like, he's fine. Yeah.
But no, he probably had the same like thing that I had, like it, because it does hurt getting hit by that shit.
Yeah, it fell right out of the sky and like hit him on the shoulder or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it hurts, but it's like, and it's a shock. It's like, oh, what the fuck? But yeah, I haven't my Adobe Premiere is fucking up lately, and I got so pissed that I threw the fucking mouse. I said like I'll just come back to it when I want to deal with it. So, but no, not on their 9x18. It was in John Moses Browning God's Caliber.
Yeah, it was a 45, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Because I did slow down the frame, and I've got the still shot of it. It literally went between both you and I.
Yeah.
Like right between. I didn't even catch it, of course, because it happened so quick, and I was also focused on like making sure to. But
it's there though. 2 people I've hit with ricochets now,
and both with Swedish fucking helmets.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. You should do more Swedish helmets.
I'm over it.
Well, come on now.
I mean, it fucking.
It is weird though. It must be that kind of steel.
It's just really springy. Yeah. It's like, yeah, but anywho, I'm gonna take off. And what's the keyword for this stream if people are watching ex poso facto?
Kevin's nips, because at the beginning I was.
Devin's nips.
No, Kevin. Kevin's the mannequin.
That's really fucked up that you would name your mannequin that.
I didn't name it. YouTube comments named it. And so the Swiss one, his name is Dickolas, like Nicholas, but without a dick, because he is a mannequin and he has no dick. So it's Kevin and Dickolas.
What if he identifies as having a dick? How fucking rude is that?
Then he can use his not head to fucking tell me that.
How unthoughtful and fucking mean is that of you?
Well, when he gets his not head and he tells me what.
Is that you or is that me?
he wants to identify as, I'll use his correct pronoun.
Was that my internet or yours? Oh, you're still frozen. Jesus.
Figured out what it was. It's actually StreamYard, because when I came back into it, they have an announcement from an hour ago saying they're having some problems.
Okie doke.
Yeah.
Well, with that, so it's Kevin's tits.
Yep.
Is
Kevin's
the
nips.
thing. Kevin's nips. Okay.
His hard nips. They're very hard. They're firm
That's
and
the word.
plastic.
So, all right, we will talk to you fine people later.
Yeah, hopefully everybody learned something, because I got a lot of web equipment.
Yep. Yeah, we'll leave this up for sure. I mean, it's fucking awesome. All right. And